The
Yes.
festival
Okay.
is there. Everything's there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, Chair.
All right, can I get a motion on the adoption of the agenda for today's meeting?
Aye.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I get a motion for the minute meetings for February 25th and March 25th, 2026?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, public comment. Mr. Roland Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Board. Rolling Gonzalez here. I want to make sure that keep it as joyful as possible, like Dan said. First of all, I want to go ahead. Last time I was here, and we didn't have that much audio, but I want to compliment the board. You guys have been doing a great job. I've had, since I'm in the real estate industry, I've been bringing many people to Montura to visit, to come around, that I've witnessed. We have so many realtors in the area bringing a large amount of folks out here to visit, to purchase new homes, new lands, and that's their new adventure, coming out here. So I just want to say thank you. You guys have been stepping up lately a lot, and I've spent close to about 3 hours here today in the office, and I've seen people walking in, and Rebecca from staff have been walking, talking to them, explaining to them what they need to do. Very professional, and I commend that very much. And I'm happy to see that our residents are being well taken care of. I know somebody's gonna always have a complaint about it, but we will work around it. I'm surprised that I don't see that many people around here today, regarding the sand mine issue that we're having, that I'm completely opposed to it. And I say why? Because it's a big concern to all the residents here, and I see it on Facebook constantly, and they're talking about this sand mine going up. Montura is growing, and I personally oppose that sand mine. I will continue my education on that sand mine, and right now, 100% I'm opposing it, because at the end of the day, if that starts up, it's gonna take us back to the Stone Age, okay, like the Fred Flintstones. And we've had a great growth, and we've had great progress in Montura to stop that. And I'm looking forward, with your help, to make sure we continue that growth. Thank you, Board, and I wish you all the best.
I got a question. Go ahead.
Sure.
No, you mentioned that you bring a lot of
I invite-
future landowners or it may be the case. That's most of them, correct?
Yes, sir.
What I'll suggest is to explain to them what we are and what we're headed to. That way it will not be a surprise to listen to the other people in the community of what we do here or what we don't do here on the board.
I really enjoy having those conversations with them, because at the end of the day,
Or bring them in, I'm sorry, or bring them in, even if they don't, just to see what we do, in here.
you mean to the board meetings.
To the board meeting, correct,
Oh,
environment.
that would be great. I have spoken to several. They're always looking forward to these meetings. But thank God nowadays we have Zoom. Most of them see it from the comfort of their house, their bed. And I personally am a victim to that. I see most of these meetings from different cities that I've seen them while I'm doing my work as well, and I'll catch it on the road while I'm driving sometimes. I tell my wife, go ahead and just put it on there for me, put it out. I want to hear it, I want to see it. But I get really involved. I want to see what every city is doing within the area. But yes, it's our goal to bring the folks in, for them to speak their mind. I don't like to listen to what they want to say. I even asked somebody today, like I mentioned to you, previously I asked somebody, what do you want to see here in Monterey? And I try to ask that to many people that I run into. what do you want to see here in Montero? And I get great responses. And I'm very, very super happy to hear what they want to see. And I'm here for them, definitely here for them, what they want. Any other questions?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Mr. Mata just, wanted the community to know that the board is also against the sandmine.
So the board is against the sideline?
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Yes, in 2024, when I was a chair, they came here and we basically had a full house. And I told a lot of the community, what are the pros and cons? We heard them out. But there was nothing beneficial for us here in Montserrat that they were promising. And all of the effects that they weren't stating that would be affecting our community. So the board as a whole agreed publicly that we will not agree to a sand mine being here. And now they've been to the county multiple times, and now they're even suing the county to get the vote changed. And I appreciate your effort coming here and letting us know that, you as a community advocate, that you're against it. Because sometimes our community needs to hear from leaders that they're heard, their voice is being heard. Because some community figures don't listen and don't vote in that degree. And if we don't have continued support from our community leaders, we may be in a predicament where they become our neighbor. So to hear that from you, I 100% support it, and think that as yourself as a community leader, we need people like you to keep pushing that fight to make sure that they don't become our neighbor.
I totally understand, like I was talking before, people say, Chloe, but I'm a landowner and I bought this land and I can do whatever I want on my land. But I understand that, I'm all for it, But when it's gonna affect a community, I have to really get involved, definitely get involved, and get educated as much as possible. What are the realms that are gonna happen to this community? So therefore, I'm totally against it right now, 100%. Thank you.
Bring it to Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Juan Carlos Santana.
Good evening, good morning. It's good to be here. You're doing a great job. I served here for 4 years, and I did it with my heart in a transparent way for the benefit of the residents of Montreal. And I just want to tell the board, I know seat number 2 is empty. And I would like to be appointed to a seat if the board will appoint me. I would like to continue serving the residents of Montreal the same way that I did before, with my heart. That's all I can tell you. And for the record, I also oppose the sign line. I think that, like Santiago says, when I was here on the board, we told them exactly how we thought. And the majority of the residents of Montreal are opposed to the sign line. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any comments?
Do we have anyone, because I remember an email going out regarding appointing someone this meeting for the seat. Has anyone else submitted for the seat?
No, not to my knowledge, but more
He's
importantly.
working on his team.
Okay. No, but we're not doing it.
Okay.
The real takeaway is that we are not gonna do that, let's call it rapid appointment, just that we're gonna do this more deliberate thing with the resolution. So we'll go
Okay.
through that in a second. And also, Mr. Jeff, no, to my knowledge, we haven't received any other interested candidates on this spectrum, so.
I have it.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Ulysses.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Ulysses Carranza. I work for Producer Southwest Florida. And receive any questions or concerns regarding the collaboration, if possible.
I wasn't here, but what is it? You said you're with Career Source?
Yes, with Career Service South of Florida, we are the local workforce center that's in town. So over the summer, we do have a summer youth program where basically we work with local organizations, businesses, and different entities where we give youth the opportunity to work over the summer. Basically, the way how it works is organizations give the youth the opportunity to work in whatever profession that's available within the workforce. The good thing with our program is we don't pay the youth, we pay the youth. They fall under our workers' comp, worry about the insurance side of it. And more than importantly, it benefits the youth as a whole. Living here, well, I lived here for my whole life, so I understand the pros and cons of living out here. And over the summer, I did want to reach out and propose perhaps a collaboration with the clubhouse over the summer program that you have. In the past, we've worked with different organizations such as U.S. Sugar. We're working with local organizations such as the City of Lewiston, perhaps even possibly tax collector in Henry County. So it's a well-known program that happens throughout the state. Within different regions, they actually have the opportunity to work with state representatives and other organizations within the community. I do have some information that I can provide. I brought one that I can bring to the list another time, but I did mention to Mr. Martin if he was on board, but I did want to bring it up to everybody.
My question I had for you is, how long is the program?
It runs right now until August, so being the whole summer for the youth. So it gives them more of an availability for them to actually be able to work in the workforce.
Now, my other question is, what are the age ranges that you would have these young men and women from?
Yes, age ranges from 15 to 18 years old, but predominantly for the youth. And it ranges from different youth. They don't necessarily have to be in public school, but most of the rest of them just come to high school, even private or even online schools. There are
The only thing I would say is, I'm not opposed to it. I think it would be a great thing to get a lot of the youth that live in our community involved into our community, because they are the future leaders of tomorrow, like myself. I was once one of them. My only thing would be for the safety concern of the kids, the age. That would be one of my only concerns. But if we can utilize them elsewhere in the district, with supervision, either here at the office to help out with paperwork or any other aspect you can use them, I don't have a problem with that. I just really would leave my final judgment, meaning I'm okay with it, but it would really depend on our district manager if she can utilize them.
I have, Mr. Mata would like to, he says we look forward to working with this, program for the summer. Because we will utilize them for the summer camp. It's great for them to get their plate in, learning the ethics, being on time, holding them accountable, to what, So he spoke more in details in the, because we had time. But it's a great program. So instead of it coming, can't use everybody, but most of the kids that are in our community that can come out and we can put them to work, we will do that. And plus we have adults that I have to hire for the summer camp program.
Is it like you just appoint students, or is it like an interview process that maybe Becky would be involved in?
Yes, so the way the recruiting goes is it's an application process. We interview them, I make sure they qualify for the program. If Ms. Rebecca would like, she can also sit in there and do an interview one-on-one. We don't just give you students blindly. We try to meet them with their career interests, so that it's beneficial not just actually to work, actually get an insight of what possibly could be work.
Well, I think if they can benefit them to something that, like they're maybe not, let's say, running the clubhouse or whatever, but just something that it's hands-on experience that they can use for their next level of,
And if I can on that as well, I think we should prepare, Becky, something with your program for the kids, like an open house day, for them to come see what the district has to offer and all of our different career choices. Because as we do grow, there is new positions that are created, that if they do live here in the community, this could be a jump in the right direction for them. So I think that is something that you guys should plan in the future, or coming up soon, because I don't propose it. It's free money, free assistance, and it gets our youth busy instead of where they're free and occupied to do things they have no business doing. So I'm in agreement to it. If we need a vote or a motion on that, I put the motion to greenlight the program and let the district manager decide on utilizing the young men and women in what area she deems fit.
Do we need a motion, do we need a motion for that?
You think, yes, so, but I think you already did.
Okay.
But essentially, you could say, motion has to what he said, as long as everybody understands, and Mr. Meyer heard what the purpose of the motion was, and the intention was. It's like you did.
He said agreed.
Yeah, because you're not presiding.
This would be for the summer only, or?
Yeah,
year-
'cause
year
how
round?
long is the program? Only until August, correct?
Only until August, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and our summer program runs from June 8th through July 17th. So, in that capacity, we can use them.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, Mr.
In
President,
6 weeks.
You actually only need you made the motion, you don't need a second.
Right.
If you care.
Can I get a second? I guess, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I guess you can just get with Becky. Just work with Becky.
Yeah. We'll work together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You got three, Becky. Is there any more? Is that it?
No, that was it.
I think the gentleman just came in.
Wait. Hi. You can just put your name yourself here, and I'll just hand it to me.
Yeah, you go ahead.
My name is Dr. Fernandez.
Can you try to get a little bit closer to the?
And in 145 Market Hill, we have been fighting the same line. I know you were against it, but there's some updates you want. So we were the ones that went to court. We wrote the advocacy brief for everyone, stating that they have two cases in court. One is the writ of certiorari, and the second one is the writ Harris. The writ of certiorari means that the person when they got denied, they went to the judge and they asked him to override it, stating that they didn't get a fair hearing because one of the commissioners yelled out that he already made up his mind the week before. They were granted a second hearing, so the writ of certiorari is basically not valid. Their second point in their certiorari was that it was ridiculous, there were no experts, nobody spoke up, everybody was okay with it. It's not compatible with the plan, the comprehensive plan. So we wrote that in the amicus. They also filed a Bert Harris case, which means if a county stops a landowner from conducting business in a normal way, they can sue them. However, they forgot to mention the fact that they bought the land after the first denial. So the case is not very strong in the courts. The second meeting, they had a vote. And they had, I think it was Rowdy, that suggested they do approve, a motion to approve. It didn't get any second, so it died on the floor. Now conveniently, council forgot to then suggest that they do a motion to deny. I'm not an attorney, so I had no idea. But that's what happened. So they left it open. They're in court right now. Apparently they've been negotiating. You go to the court docs, I'm gonna say it to you so you can share with everybody. So they put these little signs now on the road.
Can you send them to Becky? Becky can forward it to everyone.
Yes, I'm just, oh my God. So the meeting
If I can, Chair. I put out a post with my team to educate a lot of the constituents here. A lot of the feedback is people are unaware of what you're educating us on, and what's going on. The county commissioners that represent us, we have two. We have Mike Waxon and Ramon Iglesias.
Yes.
Ramon is the one who's up for election.
He corrected me.
Raymond, is up for election. So usually when people are up for election, they're very fidgety, depending on the vote of the majority of their party, meaning whose majority votes for them. A lot of here in Montura do not like him, and he's aware of that. So if it was in his best knowledge, he would vote against it. Because when I was up here in 2024, they came here to our front door and I told them, we will take this to wherever it needs to go to fight the objective. The county commissioners that do represent us, they are well aware that I'm knocking at their door saying, what is your vote? It's the rest of the county that doesn't know the damaging effects that this sand mine may have. So my team is educating them on emails saying, hey, this is affecting us. If it was close to your home, if this was close to your area or your district that you represent, we would highly recommend you vote against it. All of the information you give me, I would be more than gladly to share it with the rest of the board, but I urge you to share it with them so they can get with some of their constituents to pushing that objective out. I think what really needs to happen is a community effort where we bring the community together. I am going to be reaching out some of our local news because this is not just a little newspaper article. This is something that has grown to being a really big fighting issue. I've even reached out to community members that do have sand mines in their community and how it killed their community. And they're being willing to coming out here to speaking in front of the news. 2 reporters have agreed to come out and tell the story. So I think it's a matter of us getting together and pushing that and educating them, letting them know what's really going on. And if there's anything that the board can do legally to contest this or to fight this, if it's putting out a memo, if it's sending out a notice, to the county on behalf of Central County Board, that we oppose it and all of our constituents oppose it. That meeting was really big. We had people standing outside of the doors, and there was a lot of feedback with all of their administration here and the head chair, where she was put against a nail on a board.
Right.
There was nothing that she can get out that we as a collective were telling her that we didn't want to hear it. And a lot of the constituents were giving her that feedback. I appreciate you letting me know about this information because it's very educated. And it also puts us where we put our commissioners on notice. We have one commissioner who's very proactive, has stood on the no, and then we have another one that's no responsive. And that one is the one who's up for re-election. So that becomes alarming to a lot of the constituents here, that they may vote just to, well, you know what, I'm going to do it anyways out of spite. And a lot of people don't want that to happen. So on my end, I've even pushed this up all the way to the governor's office with a letter, letting him know, hey, I get it, it's election time for you as well, but this is affecting thousands of people if this gets approved.
It's actually worse. So we were not to interrupt you, but we just bought the property when you guys had your first meeting here. My son went to the LPA, they really left his face. Because he had questions, because they said it was going to be electrical, the way that they were going to escalate sand. And he said, there's no patent on the machines. What do you mean? Is our electric going to double? Because I'm already paying $600 a month right now. So we went to the first meeting, we went to the second meeting. Ramon did vote no on the first one, and he did stay quiet on the second one. This time around, it was 4 against 1, I believe, to have a rehearing. This is not just for Monterey, it's also Pioneer, Rodriguez, and Blackwell, and Clueston and Lavelle. It is 1,827 trips daily, which is about 700 trucks daily. I don't think they're planning on anybody being in Monterey. That's one thing. The fact that it's not just a sand plant, it's a cement plant and asphalt plant. It's going to be right on top of highway. You won't be able to breathe or eat your vegetables, anything. There's a lot of issues. This is really bad. It is 700 trucks, and you know how bad they are. So we really need to push this because the meeting is May 12th. We're going to see if we can actually stop them before we're having the meeting.
And another thing that I don't want to happen is chaos. The county has been known to cancel meetings, reschedule them last minute, and then nobody knows about it and they push the motion forward. So that's why I'm educating people. Please make it aware to your commissioners. Contact them directly. Let them know your opinion. Let them know your vote and your concern. And when the meeting does come, you voice your concern respectfully. Don't outburst, don't make a ruckus where the chair ends up canceling the meeting or having you escort it.
Yeah.
But absolutely, we as a collective, I think, will push that objective.
We tell everyone to be very polite, like, do not act like, they have to notify me because I'm in court case, so whatever they're deciding, I'm the first one to know. So I'll let you guys know as well. But that is super important. But please get back to me on addressing getting these communities together, because 80% is not done. Pioneer doesn't know, Liberty doesn't know, Flago doesn't know, Lewiston has no idea.
Their whole community has no recognition of what's gonna happen.
And those 700 trucks are gonna go either left or right on a daily basis.
Right.
So, okay.
I'll get local in here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to the agenda. Oh, yeah. Good.
You can just, shut the sauce, it's just Chris, his name is Chris Swan. Thank you.
To clarify a couple of points that my mother made, some very concerning, red flags that I read, in the proposal. I'd like to state, first of all, I don't have any type of law degree, and I'm only for lack of words. So it was very difficult to review the proposal. The proposal packet is, written in gibberish and law gibberish. It's very hard to understand as a regular person. And it's like 500 pages or something like that. I spent a lot of time on it. Have you guys ever heard of the Piney Point leak that happened up north? So there's a fertilizer, it's a mining operation that harvests minerals like that out of the ground, phosphorus and stuff that could be potentially hazardous to the environment. It's a similar mining operation, and it utilizes water. This proposal would have two main pits, essentially one that they would harvest the sand out of, and the other one that they would use as a retention pond for the water that they are making dirty. The Pine Point leak was, it could be called the biggest, and it is being called the biggest environmental disaster in Florida that's happened in a very long time. The disaster started with the impermeable liner rupturing. This proposal and the retention pond is something like 11 million gallons. It has zero mention of any liner at all. So there is a 100% factual guarantee based on the face of the proposal that there is going to be recharge into our groundwater from this slurry. This is proposed to take place on a 100-year-old citrus plantation that most likely has chemicals safely trapped in the ground over there that are probably banned in agricultural use today. So slurifying that and recharging that into the groundwater is going to affect our water 100%. Next, I would like to talk to you guys about the hawthorn. Do you guys know what the hawthorn is? We sit on top of a clay layer that was discovered during another leak up north at a port that is now named the Hawthorne because it got radiated once they hit this clay layer. This clay layer is very old, comes from like dinosaurs, and it has such a high level of phosphates inside of it that it actually becomes radioactive. It actually serves a purpose. It's the filtration path to the Tanyama aquifer. Mobilizing this radioactive sediment and allowing it to recharge into the aquifer would radiate the entire aquifer for South Florida, not just North Florida, essentially wiping out the potential use of all of the groundwater. This is a huge issue, and I brought it up to the governor as well because of that. The trucks, the impermeable liner, the fact that they want to, if you guys remember when you were kids, you try to dig a hole at the beach on the shoreline, you can't get very deep. The second you have water, the hole starts to collapse. Our groundwater during rainy season sits at anywhere at a foot above ground to 5 feet below ground during rainy season. During dry season, it only drops to 15 feet. It's not very low at all. The proposal is suggesting that they want to go down to 150 feet deep with no liner and potentially no guarantee that the hole's not going to collapse. And based off what we know from the DEK, it's just trying to take a small market between that's going to collapse. So this is introducing potential for sinkholes, where if they decide to pop up around the hole, it's great, it's kind of controllable. If it decides to pop up out of somewhere else because there's been a ridiculous amount of recharge, because they want to dig down past our water level, which is going to introduce something called lateral static, and it's going to essentially be robbing us of our water. This is just, I'm sorry, I'm starting to get a little stammer. This is a very big issue and it troubles me extremely. Also, I'd like to mention that being that they have to pull a 404 permit, which is an environmental resource permit, there are federal policies that require them to do something called a NEPA study, which would include a cumulative impact statement. Do you guys know what a cumulative impact statement is? A cumulative impact statement is the impact of a proposal on an area, on current land usage and potential future land usage. So how it might affect you as a farmer here, and if you decide to open a business next door, and how that's going to work out. Air impact studies, water impact studies. I mean, we have a Clean Air Protection Act, we have a Clean Water Protection Act, and all of these provisions are to ensure that before the proposal has something called irreversible commitments and resources, that we have some type of assurance that nothing is going to be affected negatively like this. I requested for a Clean Air Impact Study, even though it should have been provided before the proposal application was submitted. During the LPA meeting, like my mom mentioned, I was laughed at by the LPA. So these are things that you guys can very well push as the board and request from the county and the proposal and the United States Army Corps of Engineers that we are listing all of the insurances of impact studies that would guarantee that this is a safe project and that it's not going to affect us negatively. These are huge federal violations.
What I've done as a board member, because we deal with water control, I've actually taken this up to the state, asking them if we were to have a neighboring sand mine, how will this affect our water because of the reservoir? I've only received one phone call back stating if the sand mine is to get approved, the state will have to get involved because of how close they are to our reservoir. I think it's because we're such a rural area and it's a rural county, everyone feels like, oh, it's in the middle of nowhere, nothing's really going to happen, there's no eyes on it. But because this community has people like yourselves pushing this objective and putting eyes on it, they're bringing out their big guns, meaning a lot of their investors, a lot of money, to shut us up by court cases. Mm-hmm. It won't stop that way because you have two big government agencies, like myself, who sits up here representing everyone here, pushing it, and as well as a county commissioner at the county level pushing the objective. Now that we're now involving the state and the news, once it gets more momentum, we can open up a class action lawsuit personally against them, and no one wants to have 150 people on a lawsuit. Yeah. They're gonna try to either, hey, we gotta get out of here, this is not good for business. Sand mines are really owned by investors of development companies that are building communities because they use it for concrete. Yeah. That's really who's investing on these sand mines. So there's a lot of big plays in this, and I know a lot of them. So I am knocking at some other big people's doors right now. I'm getting a lot of ears, and they want to see push. They want to see the community involvement. I have seen the community's responses to it. There's a lot of people who are against it, and then you have some people who mock it like, oh, it's still going to happen if you like it or not. No. I'm sorry to tell you, this is going to affect our day-to-day life if it gets approved. So it's a matter of who we tell as a collective. Meaning, if we find the governor's email, which is public knowledge, and we post it and tell everyone, here's the letter you need to email on copy and paste, like how we did decades ago to one of the governors, until he personally came out here himself, then that's what we're going to have to do. My team is working at making a statement that we are going to ask the community to email every single news channel that covers this side of Florida until someone picks up the story as a collective, not just me as an individual or as a board member, because we can't not fight the fight. And we can't give up because they hit us with legal fight, legal battle, because that's usually what government does. When they get into a lawsuit, they put their hands behind their back and say, well, let's let's have a mitigation, let's sit down and how are we gonna sell? We don't want to be sued. On our end, since I've been up here on a board member, I'm gonna fight your fight for you, because if this affects us as a whole, then I think as a whole we should fight it, and I don't think any board member up here is against it. If the board agrees as a whole, we need to legally take some action against them, or as a community, what is it that we can do? Then that's what I'm gonna do as a board member, because that's what I was elected to do. I was just waiting for the information to be presented to me. She did present it to me. I did look it up. Everything she says is 100% factual, and our community doesn't know that. And what happens, in my knowledge, because they did this to us before, they send out notices like a yard sign, and they say, "Oh, we legally sent it out. We did our part." Well,
If you miss it, that's not legal.
right. So that's why when I seen that a lot of people were just nudging it off, saying, "Oh, it is what it is." No. This is not just someone moving in. This is something that affects us in our long haul. We don't have city water. We don't have city sewage. We have a well system, and every community that has been neighbored by a sand mine, they have been found to have a higher chance of cancer and have died from the sand mine. And then not including people who grow plants here, their livestock. So this is something that a lot of people need to be educated about, but we have a language barrier as well, because we have a lot of Spanish people here. So my team is translating a lot of the documentation that we did receive into Spanish, so they understand what's going on and they comprehend it. But there will be a lot of push at that meeting, and from what I was told, they may end up either canceling the meeting or telling everyone they're not taking any questions. So that's my only fear, that they may do. They have done this before when Montura has rallied up there. They last minute canceled the meeting. Oh, we're not gonna have a quorum, something happened. And then they rescheduled it on a date that nobody knew, and they ended up passing it.
How long ago was that?
That was, I think, about 2010 or 20. It was a couple of years ago. It was a while ago. So the county is very fidgety on it, but we do have ears and eyes in there. One of the newly elected county commissioners is fighting it, and has been very strong at pushing against it. So I hear you. I'm going to push that fight with the information provided to me. And once the rest of the board receives their portion of it, I think they'll be on board at helping fight that fight as well.
Something else I want to provide for you guys, I'm sure since you guys are maybe on both sides of the fence with the land study that was done here in Montura, taxpayer dollars were used to do a land study on the entire county, and I found it in 2008 or 2009, and back then it acknowledges that mining was an unregulated rampant issue and needed to be acknowledged. So that's huge. Another thing, there's a lot of civil enforcement room. Like my mom said, it does not comply with the county comprehensive plan or the FLU element, the future land use element. It does not, there's no congruency at all, so it fails the comp plan. So you guys could just call it out on its face for default off of that premise. The notices, the past two for the BOCC meeting, are standard notices for a BOCC meeting, not for a quasi judicial hearing, which they are. And I was notified of this mid-hearing, so I went to the second BOCC meeting, and I went up to give comment, and they tried to force me to take an oath to give my public comment. I said I don't have to do that.
Chris, if you don't mind, can you provide that information to us?
100%.
Yes, if you can provide that to us, because if I can present that to the board, I think the board can fight an argument due to water, because we are a water district. We can fight that case, because our legal attorney, they work for us, and we can see what basis we have within our law and water control, what we can stand on legally to contest that. And then as a citizen and a board member, I would also push the other objective stuff. But anything that pertains to water contamination, anything that can affect our reservoir, the ecosystem that is in that reservoir, which this can, would be really beneficial if I presented to our legal team to let's pursue that. Because South Florida Water Management District over the state who oversees us, they would want us to contest something that can really harm us. And if they get involved into this, I think this can really be a bigger issue for us if we don't do nothing about it.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. If you guys didn't know, the entire citrus grove that's north of Planco is all the C-139 basin.
So you do have to.
And their surface excavation is prohibited on the C-139 unless you have a special works and district permit, which you guys are familiar with, and that's primarily only for maintenance.
Yes. Assume that every permit that you think is contestable will be issued. For every meeting that you attend, you're supposed to have a court reporter because you need a verbatim transcript of what went on at the meeting in order to challenge it after the fact. So if you have an opportunity for a rehearing, for God's sake, get somebody with a court reporter at that hearing. Because if not, your ability to appeal gets to about 40%. Because it's possible to recreate a transcript. Oh, there's a video of it. You can hire somebody to try to create a transcript out of the video, but it's contestable. Instead, if you have a court reporter who shows up and starts putting microphones on the dais, you know, puts her little thing, the pucker factor increases slightly. So that's the other thing. But assume all of it's going to go against you in terms of permitting, because permitting is just paper bill, right, which is easy to substantiate. But that if you create a record of appealing, that may be beneficial. But it's due to appeals from a quasi-judicial or from a regular city council hearing or a county commission hearing, you need a verbatim transcript. That is, oddly, it's a weird threshold issue that disqualifies a lot of people trying to challenge.
It's been very weird. They, after the first disapproval, the first denial, they, even though this is a public interest matter, somehow convinced the county to have a private mediation and a caught them on it. And the county attorney swore, he's like, hey, we didn't come to any agreements. And then we go to the next BLCC meeting, and Richard Aiken, the attorney from the mine, on the floor, says that we're here on remand. That was a lie. There's no remand order from the judge.
Well, the community needs to know that, any of that information in regards to water control that really affect us, like you stated, I would like that, to put on the floor for our attorney to investigate, because I don't want us to get in a sticky situation. And if we need to put our foot down as a water control district, then we will do that. And I don't think any of the other board members will contest to that, going against that. And all of the other stuff, I would also like the board to know, as well as, and myself, so that we can push that objective.
We have a microclimate here in Montoro. We have a very high annual rainfall. It's something like north of 54 inches a year. If they don't have a floodplain, which they don't, we share the L1 and the L2. If our drainage starts failing, you're now endangering families and homes. So this is a huge critical issue. But I rest my case. If that's one thing you guys should do.
Chair, I put a motion that our legal team look into what he's stating in regards to water control for our legal team to protect the district. In that case, regarding the sand mine, that it doesn't affect us and our reservoir and our water system. And if there's something that we need to take legal action or to put a hold on what they do until we get the proper documentation, I think we need to do that.
And here's what we would interject, and by the way, word of advice. Each, the South Florida Water Management District Environmental Resource Permit and the Army Corps of Engineers 4-4 President both have also their own notice and opportunity to comment, subject, period. And oftentimes there is an area where, okay, but again, not just the climate of concerned citizens, one consulting report, just
When should that happen?
forward.
I'm sorry, when should that happen?
The first thing I would do if I were given this task is figure out where they are in the permitting process. They may not be anywhere in the permitting process. In other words, this entire deal might be contingent on them submitting a complete ERP application. In other words, the South Florida Water Management District may or may not know how bad it can be. One of the ways to tell them how bad it is generally getting together the community to talk about blah, blah, blah. But the better way to do it is to just get one environmental consultant who will say, this is not going to go your way. That report by that environmental consultant, somebody local, somebody well established, it might cost a few $1,000s, just a thing, but it carries a lot of weight because it would be the only thing on the side of the community that was the least bit scientific. Not to say that an aggregate opinion about what the environmental impact doesn't matter, it does, but one single consulting report matters more. It matters more to the entire community coming out up in arms with torches. There's just one environmental report that says, I know what I'm doing, this is what this is going to do. So that might be an easy lift to challenge the pending or issued environmental research. The other problem is if an ERP is issued, it's the same thing as
quasi-judicial hearing at a governmental, body meeting. 21 days, maybe 15 days typically, but 21 days max to file an appeal, and it requires, a certain amount of documentation.
My question was to you, shouldn't have the Army Corps of Engineers allowed us and given us the opportunity? I think they're supposed to come out, when I looked up NEPA and I looked up anti-sedimentation rules, they were supposed to come out before they submitted their application. It says, as early as possible or at the time of submission.
So the 404 process requires literally just a bunch of paperwork. After that, after the receipt of a complete application, there's a time certain for the Corps or it's all the same, all the agencies are the same. A certain time by which for them to declare the application either complete or incomplete. Once the application is complete, they have the ability to ask for additional information. Who would be surprised if there were an ERP application that it would not have had several requests for additional information from whatever agency? Assuming that the information gets in, there comes a time when there's no more ability to say, wait guys, one more thing. On either side, neither the agency nor the applicant can say, hey, let me tell you about this one. And then the application becomes final, and then there's a decision on whether the issue is another permit. Either decision can be challenged. So if you get a permit, again, within a finite time period, it's called a point of entry. That's the time you have in order to file a challenge to the permit being issued. Or if you're on the other side of it, if the permit doesn't get issued, you know this company is going to issue a challenge to why the permit didn't get issued. And then you can get in on that. So it's almost, no matter what, you have an opportunity, but knowing nothing about where they are in the ERP process, whether it's at the state level or the federal level, I don't know what to tell you about whether you have a chance yet or whether the chance already passed. It seems to me that if we're still in negotiations, they didn't have to issue or apply for a permit yet. Applying for a permit will be part of the transaction that acquires the land.
That's the anti-segmentation point that I had a problem with, and I called the Inspector General of the Army Corps of Engineers and had a conversation with him about that. And he told me that he has no submission for a permit on his desk. There's nothing there.
You're better off then. Yeah. So you might think, oh man, where are we? But that just means as soon as the permit application goes in, you can immediately monitor it. Again, you're gonna have to monitor it. If it's the Army Corps of Engineers, you have to monitor that through the public records process. Do not look for an online database that tells you where they are. If it's the South Florida Water Managers District, to their credit, they have a pretty active and dynamic online database of every document that's submitted in connection with the permit application. So I almost feel like you're gonna get more traction if you challenge it to the district, South Florida Water Management District ERP process. It's right there for you. It's easy to log in and find what the last thing was. It's easy to communicate with the district. I don't consider the Corps of Engineers easy to communicate with.
I spoke to Mr. Phillips from the South Florida Water Management District, and he's very neutral on the topic.
Which is his job. This is the thing. They're not advocates. That's why the scientists are the ones who end up being the advocates. In the long term, the consultants are the ones who are going to advocate either way, for or against. The reviewers, they have a bunch of administrative codes that they follow that says thumbs up or thumbs down. But anyway, that's all I got for that. But, just direct me and I'll look into it.
Now, point of contention on that subject is, again, the anti-segmentation rules. When you look up anti-segmentation under NEPA, it says there's a very explicit portion for related actions. And the most recent notice literally says on line 4 that this to approve a sand mining operation, which makes it a related action and requires it to fulfill all of the fiduciary responsibilities under NEPA, including all of the impact assessments beforehand. But thank you guys so much for that.
So Chairman, my motion is to make our legal team ahead of the game to look to see if there's any impacts to the district. And if there is, for us to put a motion of appeal to the county as well as to the state in regards to the water contamination or anything in regards to water, and then move on that endeavor.
And by the way, eventually our best friend is going to be me. It's going to be our engineer. So strap in now. That's going to be where you say, oh, here's where it happens. Here's where the magic happens. That's where the problems arise.
All right, I have a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Board, I need to excuse myself. My grandson is on his way to the hospital. So. And you'll be filling in for me.
agenda, old and new business. Discussion and vote on funding to have lobbying attorney Jen Taylor present next steps for incorporation to the board.
Right, so it's my item. All it is this particular attorney sounds like this is what they do. They do lobbying, they do this type of work. We're at the point where in order to have him come down and do, say, a song and dance or a dog and pony, he's gotta be paid for it. So what I really need is a discussion and a commitment. And I asked him to confirm a particular fixed amount. It's $4,500, which works out. I mean, if you're looking at John and I, our retail rates, it's probably about 8 or 9 hours. It's not bad, in my opinion, it's not bad. If what he's gonna do is tell us not only about incorporation, which I tried to do, one of my first assignments here was to come up with a memo. Even the short version of that memo was 5 pages. This guy's gonna distill it down to something that everybody can understand. But he'll also talk about super districting, right, where we say we don't do just drainage, roadways, and recreation. We do trash, we do fire, whatever. He can tell me, because that's something I don't really know how that will work. So he would be able to come in and brief on both issues, take questions, and probably has a bunch of questions that would be answered dynamically by the board. But, you know, guys gotta get paid for it. So as long as the board is comfortable retaining him at a rate of a fixed amount of $4,500, I'll figure out the rest of it. You know, in other words, I'll say, hey, next time, I need you to sign this retainer agreement, and then from there on, it will flow. But he would be able to do it during the next few meetings if the board had an appetite for that. So,
What's his background?
yeah, so it's a funny thing. He's a lobby. His firm does primarily lobbying. The reason that matters is that this whole thing starts with reaching out to whoever our representative and who our senators, state level senator and representative, in order to get a temperature from them of whether or not they're going to be able to advocate for this particular project. So one of the things he mentioned is that oftentimes when the legislature is in flux, you can wait and catch the next one, or you can hurry up and work with this one. Kind of deal. This is the type of thing that I wouldn't really have any idea. When I wrote the memo, I said, hey, you reach out to your state legislatures, and there you go. He knows a little bit about the politics more than I would. You know, I know about the procedure. So I thought that was interesting. You know, this is somebody who has done this in the past. The firm has done this in the past. I didn't ask him for a CV, for example. Hey, how many times have you gotten one of these across the line? You should have done that. But really, it was just more about getting a sense of whether he could even do it. And that I think he can't do. I don't think he can do. And you know, he had a lot of questions, you know, so I said, hey, you know, I don't know yet. Yeah, I asked about the county's appetite. You know, I said, you know what, the county's probably going to be neutral, or maybe even adversarial. So he's aware of that. That's something we can discuss. Why that matters is that makes more work for him. It means that he has to, it doesn't mean if the county's neutral, then it may be that you can flip the county in our favor. You know, no idea how you do that, but he would probably figure it out. What inducements can you offer the next higher level governmental entity that's going to lose what you take, right? It's a pie. They're not going to grow, or maybe we can grow the pie.
So there is some sort of county approval that has to happen too, right?
It becomes ultimately a referendum. In other words, the county has to agree that you are free to go, right? And that's okay, because you can advocate for that, especially if we have a lot of people here who are going to be part of that vote, right? Imagine that everybody here is very active, and they're definitely going to go out and vote. Yeah. And the people that generally in the unincorporated county don't care that much. Well, that's how you win a lot of times. But this is me speaking speculatively, and he'll be speaking speculatively too, but with greater knowledge than I would.
Yeah, we're the cash cow for the county. We pay a lot of stuff out to the county that they redistributed elsewhere in the county and not back to Montero. And a lot of the constituents here know that, they're aware of that, so they have put it to the doorstep of the county on that notice. And some other county commissioners say it is about time that Montero become incorporated so that it can self-run itself, meaning in the capacity, you're giving us this money, we're redistributing elsewhere in the county, and then we get the bad hit of not giving you the services. So if we take that away from us and give it to you, what benefit it is for us or you, the more benefit for it in your hands. It's just like fire, EMS, you know, you heard from our county commissioner who comes here, he's fighting the fight, but he's one of 5 as well. And if it's in our ballpark where we now get to distribute our own EMS, our own fire, which a lot of water districts do turn into fire districts, it'll be more beneficial for us as a whole, as a community, than it would be as we just stay where we're at. Because, 298 is not working. We keep saying increasing our charter, but now if we go to the tax bracket that the county's at, yes, we're gonna have to pay something to the county taxes, but majority of what goes to the county now would be distributed back to us as the governing board, like the city of LaBelle and the city of Clewiston. So I think this is a good way of us taking that step, as a lot of constituents here are also fed up with some services that they're not getting. Like right now, we're having problems with trash. County commissioner is looking into it. I have another one who hasn't answered me back, and the other ones, they don't represent us, so they don't know. And then, police has been bumped up in Monterey with the recent public backlash they've been getting, but, those are the pros and cons,
I think that's some of those things that we also have to consider. I mean, I think this is a good idea, but Hendry County collects like, what, $31 million a year from the whole county. 20 of that goes to the sheriffs. So those are the things we have to also look at, right? I mean, I see a sheriff riding around in a white, brand new Expedition, right? Do we really need an Expedition? Is he finding if he had an Explorer, right? Like most of Palm Beach County runs on Explorers. Their higher ups are the ones that are and those are the captains, right? Not the supervisors. So those are the things we also have to look at, because if we incorporate, we're still going to deal with Hendry County Sheriffs. It's not like we're going to have our own.
Yeah,
right?
so that's what I looked into.
So the 20 million, whether Hendry County gets it from the county or they get it from us, we're still going to have to cough up the money so that they can get those expeditions.
A percentage, because what the city of Clewiston.
Well, it's not a percentage. We have to agree with them. I mean, Loxahatchee Groves is fighting right now with Palm Beach County on paying their on staff.
Because we'll have,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll have a budget, and I like that you brought that up.
Doesn't mean they're going to agree to it.
No, some cities, what they do is they budget their own police department, and others, they source it out to the county. Like right now, we have to give an agreement to the county to patrol on our streets. Now, if we had a neighboring city within a mile, which is Clewiston, and I've seen this happen, we say, well, we don't want, the county used to have legal authority here, but we don't want that tax dollar that the county gives to go to you. We want it to go to the local police department. The local police department will now be rezoned to enforce law here. And that's where there's a big misunderstanding for emergency services. They have a legal agreement that they have to provide the service, but when it comes to the money aspect, local cities can say, I don't want the county, I'm not paying it. So the county's still going to provide a legal service within that zone, but they're not getting paid. So they're not going to patrol it as heavily as they would for areas of the county they do.
Which we've seen what that looks like.
And really big counties like Palm Beach, Broward, you have cities that they make billions of dollars, like Fort Lauderdale Police Department. Broward, their main office is only 7 miles away. You see a Broward police car, probably here or there, but you'll see Fort Lauderdale police everywhere.
Palm Beach County Sheriff is $1 billion a year. So, yeah.
And the city of, I have properties that I manage in Belgrade, they did an agreement again to renew with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, so they're patrolling within that area.
Yeah.
But, calls go up and they're talking about increasing the service. Well, if you're increasing the service, I want to see demand. If not, you guys are not doing what you guys say you're doing. I think if we have that in here, and we're budgeting nickels and dimes compared to dollars and bills that the county's budgeting.
All I'm saying is our goal is to get some of that money back from Hendry County. But the majority of that money from Hendry County is going to the sheriffs. And we're either going to have to fill that gap for the sheriffs, or we just won't get any service.
We can create our own police department. Look at Clewiston Police, their budget, and if we come incorporate it, we're going to be close to them because we have a lot of land that has a lot of value. But on top of that, we have independent.
My opinion about that police department is I feel like there's more sheriffs out there than city cops at any given time. So
well, that's a problem with Hendry County. Hendry County doesn't want.
I feel like we probably paying more to the Hendry County sheriff than the city of Clewiston does, and there's more sheriffs out there.
They rather have them in East District than creating a Central District for Monterey and keeping all of the county deputies here. And if they get an outside call like Harlem, sending them out there or out of city limits. So they rather leave them there because it's a city compared to putting them here in Central, because we don't give them anything in taxes. Meaning, we're a government body that doesn't have the enforcement impact to them. They're still gonna get our taxes regardless. Now, if we're a governing incorporated body and we tell them, we're not giving it to you, we're gonna have our own police department, you find that money elsewhere, then the county has to say, well, we just lost $12 million from Montura Ranch Estates City or town because now they have their own police department. So that is something that the sheriff's office is aware about. That's why they're trying to make a central district to improve and make our constituents feel, oh, we're giving you service. But if you look at call logs don't lie, if you look at call logs, CPD had to respond to some calls. The sheriff's office denies that. We had emergency calls where an EMS didn't come until 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Every minute counts in the life. And people are driving their families from Montura, rushing them to the hospital because of response time. You know, every other area in the county have fire on call, but we don't. And our volunteer fire department has been in neglect. We hear, but we don't get it. And people are tired of it. So I think incorporating will be a really good plus for us. We keep a lot of our funding in-house, and we get to distribute it for our community.
Got a question, the 4,500 for X amount of hours, times, or?
No, he figured that it would take about 8 hours, and so 8 hours plus expenses, the fact that he's gonna have to drive out and back, just that. And what he's gonna provide is essentially, better than I did, a summary of two things. How to get to a corporation, based on what he knows about the district, he'll do some research, and how to get to not incorporation, not becoming a municipality, but becoming an independent services district or a services district, not merely, but not a drainage district, not a water district. That's it.
Sorry.
Good.
Like 3.5 years I've been sitting on this chair here, and since day one I've been asking, for this. We need to start crawling before we start walking, and I think this is a good time to start doing this. If we continue procrastinating and waiting, how long we been, on this board? What, 10 years, 15 years, whatever that time is? Now this is the moment that all the board members are all for that. And I think it'll be, a good way to spend this $4,500.
You need a motion?
It would be a motion and a second, obviously, and then a vote. So
Go ahead and do the motion.
Discussion, but yeah.
So I'm going to say one more thing. Just keep in mind that, that's 4,500. That's not a big deal. But there's step 2, step 3. If we decide to go there,
What a minute plus.
No, but where I'm getting at is we're already struggling with our reserve money. Our deadline to, if someone wants to increase taxes, our deadline is near. So just keep that in mind as well.
And so, for Mr. Chair, for the report, I think one of the most important things that Jim Taylor will talk about is how you fund it. Because I have a concern about what happens if we okay, the 4,500 is consulting fees, right?
Yeah.
We have consultants, including legal, accounting, whatever. Although these are statutory positions, we can hire a consultant because we hired Bayer or whoever to do the resume.
Right.
This is similar to that. There has to be a moment when you say, we are now pursuing incorporation, or we're now
Right.
pursuing special district.
And we have to
Right?
budget.
At that point, it becomes a political issue, and I don't know that the district can just say, hey, we need a new line item, because we
Right.
need to tell the county to go screw themselves, right?
Right.
It has to be that there's a separate entity that's massaging that or working that. That's I
Right.
think what Mr. Cortez, what you're getting at. And then the dollar amount, you move the decimal place over at least 2, because there's a financial feasibility study. There's a feasibility study generally that goes with whether or not it can be done. And I can't imagine that being less than several tens of thousands of dollars, because the time it takes.
Again, to make money, gotta spend money. If we continue, procrastinating, then how the county take over then? Why waste the time? And
They tried.
And they will.
They
They're looking-
tried. In 2020, they tried.
They're looking for that.
Yeah, I pushed for a new grader. I pushed for all new equipment. The board agreed. Within 3 months, Shane, the county engineer, he came and he said, well, if the county takes over the district, how many new equipment items you have? And I said, what does that anything to do with the grant and what you came here for? And that was when they knew that I'm never going to give up, that I represent the body and the whole of Montura. And that's why the county administrators know when they come to Central County, just know you're gonna be contest with someone who's gonna tell you, what do you give us compared to what do you wanna take from us? Because it's a lot of gimme, but not giving back. And I think this is a step, like you said, in the right direction. We had to do it with the golf carts. We had to pay something, and then over time we had to budget it in there. But now you look 4 years later, people are legally allowed to have golf carts in there. You know, the county was against it, but once they seen that us as a whole and our community was very proactive in pushing this objective, the county commissioners couldn't oppose that. You know, we're not just us five. You're talking about thousands of community members in agreement to it. So I think once we get this off the road, I think everything else will end up falling in place like it did before. But we have to keep pushing that objective, you know, starting slow, and over time we'll be educated with which direction we need. So I'm 100% for it.
All right, so can I get a motion to fund Attorney Jim Taylor to present next steps for incorporation?
I'll put the motion in place.
Can I get a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, we'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Item C.
I think that was to the county, right? We already did that. We just need a vote on it.
Yes. For the, I have the.
Yeah, I was trying to.
As the logo?
I was trying to.
Okay.
No, I'm just joking.
No.
I'm trying to see that logo on here. Discussion and vote on resolution, adopt the logo.
Yeah, so the only note is because I had set this up for last meeting, you know, so we can change it, it'll be fine, so as long as the board is okay with adopting the logo.
That's good to go.
I would change the.
We already got it there.
State, you know.
Yeah, but we have to submit it to the county. And
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
We're good to go now.
Can I get a motion on adopting the new logo?
Aye.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is it finally done?
Yes. It won't be on the agenda.
All right, discussion and vote on resolution adopting replacement process for C4.
So, if I could, I'll go back to Mr. Santiago had sort of an opening comment, and it's worth revisiting. We put together this procedure in order to allow time and space to receive word from interested persons, right? The statute that governs this calls for the board to appoint somebody, I think, very quickly, 45 days. I've discussed this at length with John. No legal liability, no issues about us doing this process, right? In other words, we would have to deliberately be messing around with the new appointment. That's not the case. What we're doing by this process is adding transparency to it, a little bit of time, and a little bit of authenticity and due diligence. You don't have to do this. The statute calls for this body to pick somebody. And the only rule is that, you know, they have to reside here, they have to be a registered elector, type of deal. In particular, because we're dealing with a C4, which is an elected seat. But if the board were interested in doing it this way, then it would follow a more open procedure that would have more notice to persons who might not even realize that the vacancy is there yet. And so we would have an advertisement for the position. We would have, I think it's 2 things. It's a pretty straightforward thing. You want the job, and you qualify for the job. And then the board could review the applications, and then we would have somebody by, I want to say June 24th, it says.
Can you guys wait that long?
Well, okay, so, answer. If you want to do enough notice, then this is how it has to go, because, you know, we only meet, right? We meet once in a while, we meet monthly, and so this is why I built the resolution, in order to say, okay, right after this meeting, we got to get the notice out, right? And then, in time for the next meeting, we'll have all the applications, and then after that, we'll have the short list, and after that, we'll have the
If we have a quorum.
issue selection. Right, so, you know, there's some other issues certainly, right, about.
But that city, how long is that city left? Is that another about the?
Yeah, it has. There's years.
Yeah.
There's years.
There's a lot of time left on the seat. This one is through, I have it through
It's more than a year?
2028.
It's only been 1 year.
Yeah.
That-
Okay.
Right. So late 2028.
Okay.
Therefore, you know, you want to have a process and you want to get somebody in that seat, it's not like you should wait it out. You shouldn't wait out the
did last time, we waited and had a special election for the seat. No one applied for it, and then last minute, he put in for it. And just got the seat, basically paid all that stuff. And the only reason why I opposed for us appointing a past board member, because he was a big advocate for the community. And I believe we need people up here who speak highly of Montura and are advocates for our community. I don't oppose either. You know, we can put it out for contest. But a lot of people feel like, oh, it's just $50. There's really no beneficiary factor for sitting up here.
I don't care.
And then we go through this 90-day process, and then we have 2 or 3 people that think it's just, oh, I'm just gonna come sit up here, you know, and I'm gonna dictate all the stuff, and I only get $50. You know, we've known him. He's been an advocate for our community, and he speaks highly about the district. So that's why I personally said we appoint him, because I tried that before, giving the transparency. I was a big advocate for let the people vote. No one voted. It just sat there.
I'm all for that, but at the same time, I like to give the opportunity to the community. Because otherwise, it look like, you know, we want to bring in, which, you know, nothing wrong with Mr. Santana, just
Right.
bring it right on board with us. So I think give it 60 days or 30 days, whatever that time, 60 days.
It'll end up being, so just for the.
90, right?
It'll be July 22nd.
You know, if at that
It's not
time-
numerical, it'll end up being that if all goes well, July 22nd
Would be
meeting.
the-
So,
yeah, 90 days.
at that time, nobody, apply for it, then we're gonna appoint,
Right.
Mr. Santana.
I agree.
I mean, that way it's fair for everybody on the community.
Okay.
So can I get a motion to adopt a resolution for replacement of process C4?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion and vote on alligator harvesting, final agreement.
Sure, so, not last week, the meeting before, I believe it was, or even before that, it may have been in January, but the board, based on a presentation we had about alligator harvesting, that moved in the direction to work with that, to Becky with that contractor. The issue we had initially is that we received a license, well, it was called a lease, and it didn't have a lot of the terms that we would normally expect in a contract. It didn't say how much we were gonna get, right? It was very bare. So in conversation with John, we came up with the attached agreement we have in front of us. Yeah, it's long. There's a good reason for it. We're talking about alligators, right? And when we did the palm berry harvesting, it was more about just going out and collecting them. This feels different to me, the way that this works. It's not just the eggs, it's the actual live, creatures. And so we had a concern about liability. In particular, the contractors who do this are fairly small, subject matter experts who hire people to go out with them and do the work. Because of that, they don't generally have workers' comp. That sounds dangerous, somebody, it's not that they're gonna get eaten by an alligator, they're just gonna get their foot run over by a truck. Okay, they're gonna need help. I don't want any liability to the district. So this agreement, I know it's big, the intention is that this wraps around anything he gives us. So we have his documents, and we can execute those, but we want to have this contractor sign this. We've had conversations about how we got paid. Before, we had no idea how we got paid. This says a 50-50 split as to whatever the proceeds are of the harvest.
Does it cover like, the contractor providing proof of that, of what he was paid?
Yes, sir. So that would be for your information. If you look at 15, so it's page 8 of 9, section 15. It's about, so A is about data, right? So reports. I think the reason that makes sense is that these are reports that you would be providing to Fish and Wildlife, right? So it's the same reporting that you provide to them. We use it to figure out how much he owes and he pays us. So those financial terms were not there for the original thing he sent us. So what I would ask is that if this gets approved, we could give it today's date, effective date would be April 22nd. We would provide a signature, and we would ask the contractor to sign this one, and then we would get you to sign his other documents, put it all together, and then we'd be good to go.
Okay.
If there's any issue, the board can decide. If we needed to negotiate, instead of 50%, how low can we go? Do we want 40, do we want 30? If the board wants to give me an opinion on that, then at least I would know that information when I speak with the contractor.
I think he mentioned 50%.
Right,
I
that was
just wanna
my recollection.
make sure it's
in black and
He's
white.
not giving us 20% of,
Yes, yes,
you know,
yes, yes, right, of a
what he
made up
actually
number.
made, yeah.
Correct, correct. So this tries to do that, it tries to give it some transparency. So, the next steps, very worst case scenario, this particular contractor, who I think we should support, because he's the one who came out here, he did the presentation, he's done good work before. If that doesn't work out, if I can't figure it out with him, that's fine, because FWC gave me a list of a dozen other vendors who do similar work, so we can certainly get it done at some point.
Yeah.
So, if this fails, we'll find somebody who can do the right level of documentation, maybe somebody who has insurance, and then we'll do it that way. But I would just ask, in order to keep it moving, we can go to approve execution of this document, and then later on, whoever it is, will have to sign his.
Yeah.
We can do that electronically, as long as the board approves ultimately the execution of the document.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
We gotta work on it.
Well, the next thing is the owl, so it's already out here. But the next agenda item is
Did we go to the bathroom or did we outside of the bathroom? We use those owls too, they're pretty good.
ultimately, while we were sitting here, Becky sent me the Zoom link and it worked very nicely.
Yeah,
So
well, it'll show like a view of everyone. I mean, as you start talking,
Panorama,
it
right.
picks you up as well.
Candy wrappers, everything was
Yeah.
beautiful. So, I think it'll work very well. And John wanted to be in, he wanted to go in on the owl in order to show you how well it worked. But, the next time, either he or I will do the owl. But, yeah, I mean, he figured, you know, if he wasn't gonna be able to do the owl, the cell phone is okay, but he wanted to really see how well it works. So, I'm
Yeah.
happy that we got it going. And, you know, and by the way, it doesn't have to, and so City of Okeechobee is another client of ours, and in that place, the owl sits somewhere on the dais, maybe because you have the cables, you want to have it someplace. But the owl can sit somewhere on the dais and still do its job.
Yeah.
Because it will see the speaker. Imagine where it's gonna point, it's still gonna see everybody, it's still gonna hear just about everything. The only question is, if the district manager is doing a lot at the podium, maybe that becomes an issue.
It
Then
can-
the owl can
yeah, it'll
focus.
pick it up.
Maybe.
Yeah, it'll pick up a lot of that.
Unmuted.
Yeah. It tries to block out some of that spatial sound, but sometimes it picks it up.
It's pretty high tech, I think.
Hey man, you gonna get an expedition?
Well,
They won't give you an expedition?
as long as the tenants, I get those. We're supposed to be getting a new fleet, but not sure yet what we're getting. We were talking about getting an F-150 for here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But again, I'm not sure.
But yours is an Explorer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was good. We're really pushing to get a side-by-side for the whole ATV issue, because
That'd
you
be
can't get
good.
with Explorers.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, so,
You can get all through all the easements and all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I used to ride ATVs here like way back in the day, so I still.
So you know the area.
I still know the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still pushing for that.
That'd be pretty good, actually. That's actually a pretty good idea, because you can, you know what I mean?
Yeah, as soon as they see these cars come up, they hook it into one of the canal banks and then they're gone.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go in the back easements either with that, because,
No, that car actually goes pretty
Really?
good. I patrolled through those areas too, and it goes through the center, it's all-wheel drive, so it handles it fine.
all the
I
sand
can't-
and all that.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
can't go fast, but,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
Yeah, side by side, actually, that'd be pretty good.
yeah, that's what we're pushing for. I know Lieutenant sent an email to the Health Foundation to try to help get it funded, I don't know what it's led to, so.
You're out here pretty much every day, right?
This is my assigned area.
Yeah. I saw you the other day. I think you were leaving. It was pretty late in the day.
I come out at all hours and
Yeah.
just depends.
Well, we appreciate that, man. I think it helps. People see the vehicle, and I mean, I'm a big supporter of law enforcement. So I don't know if you know, like in Palm Beach County, they let them do if you're taking your kid to school, they let them take your kid to school because the sheriff wants, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm a criminal, I don't know if you're off duty or on duty, I just see a car and I'm like, you know what, let me just,
Yeah, we have that policy here, as long as you're in the county, we just gotta have our gear with us and our radios turned on, if something big pops off, then
You gotta react.
go to it, but
yeah,
we're allowed to take our patrol cars anywhere for any
yeah.
personal thing.
No, I agree with that, man. I think it just, it adds to
Absolutely,
the overall,
they're more presence.
yeah.
Huh? Nah. I'll do what you do. Okay?
We're done with the meeting.
To the candidate, man, we didn't run the motion and he leaves. And you're all for him.
Sorry.
Soon as the motion moves on, he leaves. Oh, he's a big advocate, this and that, but he leaves. Hasn't been here in 12 months. First time I see him since the election.
Who?
Your candidate.
What can't? Did you see an endorsement letter go out?
No, you just said it. You just said it.
I said we need more leaders who are advocates for
You
our
said, I know
community.
he's an advocate, but he hasn't been here since the election, and then as soon as we move on to the next phase, he leaves. So all these other agenda items here related to Central County don't matter, right? He was just here for that one. I'm just
You're stating the truth,
just stating my point.
and I agree with you.
Moving on. All right, so
D, we got one, D, we're,
I don't know if you want to deal with.
So, Mr. Santiago, I think you were here for the presentation on alligator harvesting.
Yeah.
The concern about alligator harvesting is it's super dangerous, and, these guys are uninsured, so we created an agreement that wraps around whatever agreement they push in front of our noses that allows for financial terms, insurance, and so the plan is, if the board will agree to execute this one, send it back to the contractor, get them to execute it, great. If the contractor has an issue that can't be resolved, we can still do it, we'll make it happen, I'll just find a different contractor, even though we should favor the one who came and presented to us. There are other contractors according to FWCC.
So what you drafted here was something to protect the district.
Right.
I'm in agreement.
All right, so can I get a motion for alligator harvesting final agreement?
All right.
Can I get a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, discussion and vote for attorney remote participation with Al, via Al.
Right, so, you have the owl there before you. Today you weren't able to see a live demonstration of the owl. John wanted to be the guinea pig for it in order for you to get the quality of the sound and the ability to at least hear the speaker through the owl and vice versa. That becomes really important eventually. And so the benefit would be, in terms of driving, let's say, it makes it easier for us to be here exactly on time. Last time I was very stressed out at the March meeting because I was like 15 minutes behind. It only worked out because we had an issue with the quorum at that meeting, right? But I was thinking, man, if I had the remote capability, you might say to me, hey, it's fine, just get in on the owl, even if you're gonna be here in person. In other words, if there's a meeting that the board requires the attorney in person, the owl gives you the ability to be tuned into the meeting, even if you're not here yet. That's one piece. Separately from that, and generally, I would ask that the board approve attorney remote participation via the owl, because it saves us the drive time. So for example, if it's me doing it, it's just under 2 hours. If it's John doing it, forget about it. It's like 3 hours. And so the reason why it becomes a burden to us, for me, I'm on the billable system, so every minute that I can spend, working on legal stuff is beneficial to me. In the case of the district specifically, it means that I'd be working on district assignments anyway, and the time that I had, to not be driving. And so we consider it beneficial, it's just the cost of the owl, right, and whatever your data costs are. And so, yeah, so here's an example for the board. Notice the owl is focused on me gesturing and making noise, and in this case, it's also on Supervisor Santiago, but across the top is a panoramic view of the entire body who's sitting at the dais, right? And so that's the idea. Let us do the owl. it may prove beneficial in the case of here, you have Chair Mata is not available. In principle, according to an Attorney General opinion, as long as you have a physical quorum present, it should be possible for another supervisor to participate remotely. That becomes hugely beneficial, right? In the case of, oh, something happened, there was a traffic jam, or whatever. Guess what? Now you actually can establish, a proper vote, as long as you get the three. You gotta have the three live bodies here. But you might be able to get a better discussion, you might be able to get more issues addressed and voted on because of the ability to go through the owl. Higher quality in that case, because, we can bring in Mr. Mata via cell phone, but I think this would be a lot better. And in the case that, so using the city of Okeechobee as an example there, the engineer or the sort of review person is always on the owl because he lives in Broward or something, in a ridiculously far area. But that's the person they want. That's the company and that's the person who they want. So in order to save them the drive time, that individual always is in on the owl. And so they'll say, hey, Ben, are you on? And he's on. He's paying attention. If they need him, he pops up on the screen and provides an opinion or feedback. So give us owl, please.
So
I-
go ahead.
The only caveat I have is, I don't want it to become an everyday thing,
Sure.
meaning every meeting we're using the owl. I'm a big advocate, I like to see faces, build a relationship. That's me and John's biggest battle. He sent me you when he can't be here, because I did let the board know as of this ending of last year and the beginning of this year, is as we changed every position out, John was the only position that we put on notice saying, hey, we need you when you're absent, we need a representation, someone here. I do like the idea when you're coming on your way, if we're starting the meeting, I'm running 30 or 15 minutes late, because some of our meetings, I used to keep them within the 1 hour, other board members 2, 3, 4 hours, but I do like legal to be in person. I don't oppose to it being a substitute, but I do oppose to it becoming the permanent go-to item. Here in Montura, service is not that good sometimes. We lose service, so we lose the owl, and then we lose you. Compared to, hey guys, I'm 15 minutes late. I'm paying attention. If you need legal counsel, hey, don't do this. This needs a vote. Let's talk about that. But I'm 100% for it being a substitute, not a permanent.
So I think we've tried Zoom before, and Owl doesn't replace that. Owl is just a camera and a microphone.
Yeah, it's a piece of technology.
That's all it is. It's still links to Teams and everything else.
Yeah,
So
we've had Zoom people on the grant, for example, the grant analyst and administrators.
yeah. So I think if we try it, I think it should be a test first before we make a final. Okay, this can be a replacement solution if something happens. I can't make a meeting, but I can remote in. But I think, in my opinion, I think we should probably try it once or twice just to see how the technology behaves, right? Because the camera looks great right now because it's connected to the laptop there. But we've had John, since I've been here, probably twice maybe on Zoom. And we always struggle with
His beef was about the quality.
Yeah.
He specifically said that he wanted to improve the quality.
well that doesn't really change anything if the connection's not here. You know what I mean? Because we use them at work all the time, and those are just, it's a microphone and a camera put together.
So really, okay, I get it. And then now, so Mr. Santaro said something that I think is true, which is the quality. There comes a point, actually, for me, it only comes up when I get closer and closer to this area.
Yeah.
That's when it actually
Cell phone is dead.
ironically, right?
Yeah.
So to the extent that if I was super late and I wanted to get on a meeting, I'd be able to do that for a time certain, and then once I get to about, where the turnoff is, like the flagpole sign, I assume I would lose you, right? So it really is more powerful when you just say, hey, John and I have commitments that are excusable, and we should participate via owl, because there the connection is solid on our end all the way through, even if you're saying the owl itself or the technology here might fail.
Yeah.
That's one piece. There's something else that you said, Mr. Cortez, about that. It's really more that we're advocating for the ability to appear remotely in principle. That's kind of what it is, right? Because you're saying the owl is just a way that you substitute that for Zoom. Okay, so really, it's more of a discussion about whether or not the attorneys can or should be able to participate remotely when needed. Not as a matter of habit, but as a matter of necessity.
And I think
So I would appreciate, if the board
Yeah,
would
yeah.
consider that, you don't have to make a decision now, but it would be helpful, I think, for me, if it ends up being that I'm generally the one who does the meetings going forward, right, if it's gonna be me most of the time. And John, again, at first he wanted to be in person. I go, why are you gonna come in person? To talk about the owl, you can come in on the owl. It's so close, we almost got it sorted out.
Yeah.
But he actually wanted to come and advocate for that particular thing, and also for the incorporation conversation. So that's the one he really missed.
Yeah.
He would have done a little bit more on that. But anyway, that's the item for me, is can we do it? Is the board okay with it? And I think the idea of doing it on a trial basis, so the next time it comes up, like, hey, can I do the owl? And that way you can say, yeah, the owl is good, the owl
Yeah,
stinks.
I think if we test it out, I don't know what internet we have here now.
Yeah.
Did we get fiber yet, or still can't get fiber?
As long as it's something
Yeah, fiber.
physical, I gotta tell you, you're better off, because I have my hotspot, it didn't do a damn thing.
No,
I tried to use my hotspot.
Because I think wherever you guys are at, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. It's us
Correct.
receiving it
It's
here.
in between, or
Yeah.
as you get to this area.
We have dead spots, like when you're entering from Palm Beach into Clewiston, there's a 5-minute dead spot. Flagpole, there's a 5-minute dead spot. 833, there's a 5-minute dead spot. So it's right where the two towers, where their bandwidth stops. Yeah, that's where we lose you. It's just if we have a really like rough day outside, phone service would be really crappy. And the Wi-Fi here would come on and off, and then that wouldn't work. So, like, we used to stream the meetings live, but now it's like pre-recorded, because some people would tune in live, and they'll text and like, oh, well, I would like to comment on this. Well, that's why. I just rather have a physical person here, and I hear, the drive is tiresome and killing sometimes if you have a 4-hour meeting and then a 2-hour drive back. But besides that, I do think we'll give it a shot, and then if it becomes beneficial, I don't foresee why not. Hey, can you come every other meeting in person, or if it's a really big touchy subject, can you please come in? But I don't want it to eliminate a person being physically here, because if that is the case, then I think we should talk about reduction of pay, because we're paying for someone to keep that seat warm. And if we need to talk about increases, then we talk about increases. But if we're going to eliminate someone being in the seat, then I want to eliminate some of that pay as well. Because, some of that money goes into the drive and your time. So that's where I look at it in the business perspective for the district. But on a personal level, I feel you. I understand the pain. So, yeah.
I'll get something. John did say about, hey, if this is as beneficial as this is to us, we can at least freeze our rate for a time several years. Let me ask him about that. He was supposed to pitch that. I didn't know what the exact detail is, but it's something to the effect of, if this really works out, we could essentially lock in our rate for a time that would be attractive to the district, so we wouldn't have to go like that.
Did they cost for that equipment?
This thing was just under $900. Yeah, so that.
You own equipment, no, it's not just lease, you just own it.
No, it's just, you buy it one time. Correct.
Yeah, this is microphone.
It's a fancy microphone, yeah.
And it rotates, so when you start talking, it picks you up. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Understood, and I get it, so it's, whatever the board's pleasure is, but
So
we would take any concession that the board would provide.
can I get a motion to allow the OWL to be used for attorney participation? I think we should do a trial basis and kind of go from there.
60/90?
That works.
Let's go.
I mean, I just want to make sure our kind of signal is good before we even entertain a temporary.
I go ahead and second that.
So you motion it?
I didn't say it.
I said, motion for the, owl to be
Can I get a second? No second. All right. Moving on.
So this one is,
Nothing good.
it's about financing.
Kenny, can we get Steve a name tag?
But I have it somewhere.
It was about 3 meetings ago, we asked for him to get a name tag.
Let me see, I got it.
Yes, it was like 6 meetings for mine. Had a John Boy for 2 or 3 of them.
I mean, it took mine like 6 months, so.
There you go.
Oh, okay. We need a new name tag back there.
Use a new name tag.
How many months are we moving on? He'll get his
By
next month.
next month. Yeah, they'll probably get one. Alright, I'm sorry, you guys.
So for this next item, I was looking at, somewhere, it's just a discussion. We've been asked several times about what financial mechanisms the district can use, in particular because the district has grants that are out there in the world. They're designated for the district, but the monies, they don't flow. Whether or not the district can use alternative financing for its projects. The answer is yes. So in the conversation with John, the legal answer is yes, and then there is a more technical answer about how you approach it, what do you do? In other words, what could, assuming that we think of the district as a borrower, the same way we do, what financial assurances would a lender require of the district? No idea. But to answer your question, Mr. Miller in particular, yes, the district can go out and try to find a line of credit, for example, some sort of thing with a fixed interest rate or a variable interest rate could be risky in order to fund the projects while the district is awaiting grant monies. It might matter a lot when it's a type of grant that's a reimbursement grant, obviously, because then we can quickly move on certain projects rather than saying, okay, we have to wait, now we can do it next year. But the rest of it, the true financial and technical piece would go to somebody who knows that part better, working over here. Or, we could even hire a consultant or somebody. So my first thought would be to ask the grant administrator what their experience has been with their governmental clients using alternative financing while they're waiting for the money to kick in. So if the board directs me to do that, I'll ask about that. Absent that, then I would ask a financial person to do
I would
more.
use it where you got money already.
Yeah, so, anyway, answer yes. Now, it's still a problem to be solved as to how we get alternative financing.
This grant that we have sitting out there for 3 years or 4 years or 10 years, okay?
In
That's
our
normal.
discussion, our Treasury is not well briefed, I don't think, right? We would almost like to have you have a separate brief from the grant administrator, because I almost feel like the last time we had her up on the Zoom, you weren't even here yet. It was still Mr. Boyd, present or absent, who was in the treasurer's seat. So it's like you need a refresher, or not a refresher, an actual brief. So if you want to do that, we can work that out just to get you up to speed.
Just to get that money down, did approve, 2 years, 3 years down?
Yeah, it's going through the county. It's just like the 1.6 grant that the governor approved for us in
Correct.
2020. We still haven't received any of that.
That's right.
The county is distributing it, so they're taking their administration cost from it.
Of course, they have the whole grant.
Right, we had a meeting where they were here in person. I was basically cross-examining and letting them know, you received the money? Yes or no? Yes. Have you received your administration fees? Yes. So why haven't we received anything? Oh, well, we're going through this process and stuff like that. So we have to find a different alternative, and that's why the board has pushed for our grant team to apply for grants that come directly to us. But in that interim, we lost John Boy, we lost Mr. Bennett, then we had Steve who came on. So we have a lot of changes in our district, and then district manager as well. But Becky's been along the trail as the assistant, and then interning into the district manager. So she knows more about the grant process and that aspect. But something got to give. We already spent money waiting for them to pay us back because that's what was promised. They didn't keep their end of the bargain. And now we paid all this money out, expecting a reimbursement, haven't got it. So I think we do have to find some solution because we can't stop operating. and doing what we have to do within the district and what we applied these grants for. But whenever we do receive this money, if the job has already been completed, we're basically paying ourselves back for what we've done. And I think that's Becky's biggest push is, we can't wait for the grants. We still have to make do with what we have, but be cautious in that direction. So I think looking for a different line of credit or something like that in that avenue would be beneficial for us. But we want to tread lightly, like walking on thin ice, because we don't want to get ourselves where now we have a line of credit, and then the grant gets submitted 4 months later, and now we receive all that grant money. Do we cancel our line of credit? What will be our spec and all that stuff with the agreement we signed? So there's a lot of pros and cons of that.
Santiago, that would almost be, that's the good version of it. Seems like the bad version of it would be where we are knee deep in a line of credit and there's some issue or problem.
Got the money, yeah.
Disbursement of the grant funds from, and then we're just there servicing the line of credit. That would be, but at least there we would have completed the project. So
Right.
you think of it that way. But if nothing else, the projects always get done, whether it's your version of it or the more trouble version of it. At least we get the projects done. But okay, this discussion. I mean, if you want to take some direction, that's fine. But just wanted you to know that it's possible.
Okay. Discussion and vote on Winter Festival.
Everyone knows about swamp cabbage. Everyone knows about brown sugar. Everyone knows about the Sugar Festival, the Gold Jubilee and Velvet. There's all these festivals that every big community has. As we grow, we host a lot of events, but we don't have something geared for Montero. MATA has started the golf tournament, going on a couple years now. It's bringing in a lot of funding for the summer camp program, and it's its own beast of itself. With the Winter Festival, I am putting together a committee that will be working with my organization that is already established. We already have grant funding, and we have the people to push the objective. We just need the approval of the board to start coalition, getting all of these donors, sponsors together, because all of the funding will have to go through Central County. It can't go through my organization or the committee, because all of this funding is 100% geared towards Montura and for Central County. And the package should actually be in everyone's binder. So the Montura Festival is going to be a 4-day community celebration featuring vendors, entertainment, fair rides, a pageant, and a community parade. It should be in the back. In the back. All revenues will be generated from the event will be paid directly to CCWCD. You don't like logos? So within the 4-day event, I already spoke to a pageant organization. They're going to be putting together the pageant. The fair rides, we as the county will have to pay to rent them, but anything we charge as tickets and wristband is 100% given back to us. Or we can do 50-50, meaning whatever we generate from the fair rides, meaning the bracelets or the tickets, will have to be split with the fair ride vendor and ourselves. I did contact cities who already put on a smaller festival like this, like South Bay. They do rent a Ferris wheel and 6 small rides. Each small ride for the 4 days is $1,500 a piece, and then the Ferris wheel is $5,000. All of the food vendors, food booths, they will pay for their spot to us. On page 2, you'll see the food vendors. For a 10x10 booth will be $400. Art and craft vendor will be $400. Merchant vendor will be $400. And then vendor sign-up fee will be $150. Because with that $150, we're buying banners that will say Montura Winter Festival for that year. They will be put up all around the district of CCWCD, as well as the clubhouse. to advertise the event, and if they pay that fee, their names will be stated on there as a sponsor. But if they're just a regular vendor, they won't be stated on there on that. The pageant will have basically different age groups that will be competing. We will have this where we would be getting our pageant certificate that this festival will happen every year, and that the pageant winners will be recognized. They will walk around with a crown and a slash that will say Montero Winter Festival Queen or Princess, and they will hold that every year until the beginning date of the festival, which would be Thursday. Friday is our opening day. Saturday and Sunday are just our regular operation days. And then at 5 o'clock Sunday, after everyone gets off of work and everything starts to die down, the festival will be 100% closed and everyone will break down and go home. For our first festival, I have to bring this up to the board because the committee that I'm putting together to direct this, we have to have approval from this board because we're going to be speaking as Montero Ranch Estates Festival. The board of Central County will be the owners, and our organization would just be the committee. CCWCD has the authority to tell the organization if they want to change the committee chair, the committee head, saying, hey, I don't think things are working, we want to go in a different direction. Every single dollar will be generated back, and it'll be a new item that will be ran by the district. And then the parade, I think is another avenue that we can also bring in revenue. We'll start small, charging them $50. And as the festival grows, we will, of course, increase our amount because a lot of other people want to be involved. This gives another opportunity for businesses, local businesses, and outside businesses to get involved, get their brand out. This will be down the main road in front of the clubhouse. We would get an agreement detail from the Hendry County Sheriff's Office to close down the road so that we can have them come in from that road and drive all the way down to the clubhouse. And then the festival sponsorships, we would have our platinum, gold, silver, and bronze, and those numbers will be generated off of what the committee decides. But in all of this, CCWCD is really the final judgment takers. The committee is just operating and making the event move smoothly. So I would like feedback. I don't expect us to vote on it because I want us all to be here when we do make this vote. But I would like everyone's feedback on this event. If there's input, I would like the input. As starting next month, May, is basically our deadline, and when we have to start whipping up sponsors, businesses, vendors, and getting everything suitable for December.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah, it's a good idea, but I'm not gonna comment, just I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Looks like you put a lot of effort into this.
There's a big committee.
Yeah. So, going back to we were talking about South Bay. How much does South Bay generate on their?
When they first, from the information I was provided, when they first ever did their first fair, the city paid $10,000, and they got back 15. So only $10,000. When they found out renting the attractions like the Ferris wheel and the rides, and 100% of proceeds goes back to them, they increased the amount of the tickets and the passes from $15 to $25. And these passes are only valid one day. So if your kid wants to come to the event on one day, he's paying $25. So 5 people, that's $100. And they said within the week, because they do it for a whole week, they bring in about $120,000 back, which they utilize some of that money for the city improvements, buying new equipment and buying stuff like that. So I think this would be greatly valued because I'm inviting a lot of businesses, local businesses, to partake. They will have to have, their business license. If they distribute with food, they have to have all of their paperwork, and they have to have a CIO. with Central County stated on it and the festival itself, that if something happens, they go after them personally and not us. And if we bring a business is going to advertise this event because they're going to be there. So that's why we're very geared down to having a lot of booths, a lot of businesses partake, because the more businesses we have, their following, their people are going to come to the event, and it should really grow this event. For the first time, we're going to be really relying on our sponsors, but after that, we do hope that the money that is brought in from this, we can utilize that for the following event where we don't have to have the reliant on our sponsors, that whatever our sponsors give us can be improvements to grow the event until the event is bringing in enough income for itself.
So they're, just going back to South Bay, they're just kind of rough numbers. You're saying they're probably paying, what, 10 grand for their rentals? Somewhere around there?
Well, now they do 50-50. They from when they first started, they were renting them. Now they do 50-50. So whatever they make, they split it down the middle. And that's why it's a repetitive thing, because the fair vendor wants to make his money. So he sends some of his small stuff, they make what they make, and then they move forward. I think I've reached out to two. Some of the ones that go to Clewiston, they said it's a little bit risky for us, is what they were saying. It's risky for them because they don't know the data of what they can make. They said they feel it, because of the square footage we have and how the county reacts to the Hendry County Fair, they feel like this would be something where a lot of people will partake. But for our first event, they don't want to take that risk where they say we do 50-50 and we made pocket, but they made nothing. So I thought that was a fair negotiation. So
what would be our startup cost for the first year?
Small. I just want to do a really big Ferris wheel, which is usually the most expensive, and then some of the small kiddie rides, which are usually $2,500 to $1,200 to $2,500, depending on the scope. And then a lot of the, like they call them the fair booth, food booths that you can rent out as well. But I want to eliminate those and just strictly invite food vendors and other merchants to partake, because they're going to invite their people, and it gives them the opportunity to put their business out there and feed the community. And then we also can make off of entry fees, meaning allowing people into the park, because some people don't want to get on rides, so we can't rely on the rides being 100% of it. Just like the pageant, there is going to be pageant costs, pageant fees that they're going to have to pay, and as well as the fair. So these are 5 different things going on all at once, but the committee is geared up to making it work. We just need the direction from the board's approval, and then during the whole process, we would keep everyone in loops of the decisions we make.
In your committee, you have what, 5 people?
We have 5
people.
We have 5.
And who's in the committee? People here from the area? Or
Yes, people who live here. Yeah, we only have one who she's just moving in, but she has her own honeybee company and she wants to be a part of the vendors committee part. So I said, hey, by all the married, you know people here, you know flea markets. So she has already started reaching out to some other markets and some other people who are interested in coming to our first ever festival. Until we officially announce it or give out any paperwork, we need the board's approval, because everything is going to be 100% through the board. If the board doesn't like the directive that the committee's moving into, then the committee will have to move in the direction of the board. Once the event grows itself, we do hope that CCWCD will fund itself, where there can be someone stationed as a part-time employee who would be the spokesperson for the event, but works directly for Central County, and will oversee the event, and our organization will move away from it.
I think my biggest thing would be just trying to understand what the difference is between me, I guess as a person going into Central County or going into the park, right? And I break my ankle right now. What's Central County's liability right now versus it being a closed, I guess a closed festival, right?
Sure.
And, you know, they're gonna have all these other vendors with their liability insurance, but if I'm walking and I break my ankle, does that change the liability? Because now it's kind of like a sanctioned closed, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like a park that you can just walk through and walk out, you know, there's not really any, it's a little bit different.
Much generally handle that by putting the disclaimer on the tickets. So whenever everybody buys a ticket, it's like they buy a license to attend the event, like that. Similar, even valet the car, you flip over, you
Yeah.
have a bunch of language out there. So that's how it generally gets handled. There may also be, in the case of the individual event, if there's a website, people buy tickets on the website, you add that to the terms and conditions. In other words, you sprinkle indemnification language everywhere you can. That's generally how that gets handled. In the worst case scenario, when none of that works, the district's liability is that statutory liability, I think it's $200,000. It's a lot for a small building. But it is, treat it like any other festival, the way you handle it.
Yeah.
Put the disclaimer language everywhere. And yeah, liability, just like everything else, and some benefits and risks. So, maybe the thing I have to look at is, it's a funny thing, right? The district's charter allows us to build, right, and operate recreational facilities, you know? And so here, it's like, we're looking into the clubhouse, this is something, it's gonna be.
Yes, it's gonna be at the clubhouse.
Like that's kind of how you get it over the line, because otherwise I might say an event is a slightly different thing, right, than a thing you're operating. Put it in a clubhouse, now it becomes an extension of the clubhouse, which we operate. That's kind of as close as I can get to getting around that particular issue, which is that it isn't a thing that we built, but we built the clubhouse, and we're, for one occasion, doing an extension of the clubhouse. I think that's how we, even in soccer, we kind of, soccer? It's softball. What do we do? We have, okay.
Yeah, we have soccer, volleyball, and basketball.
I feel like that's how we do those, right? Because those are activities, right? They're not facilities. But the way we make it work is that we say we are managing or operating a facility, and everything flows from that.
But it's not free, though. Now you're charging to be
No,
on.
certainly, so, you know.
So that changes, I think.
The one way to handle that would be to heavily advertise the event as being directed at the residents of the district, because that's the other thing. Everything that we do is quote for the benefit of the residents, and so you have to go hard on that. The festival itself is specifically for the residents. You know, other people might show up, but to the extent that you have it targeted at the residents, you're okay. You can keep them in the clubhouse, you're okay. Once you get away from those, start doing something at the reservoir, then you're gonna have a problem, because now you're just doing an event. You know, one of the first things also I had to look at is what we could do. Could we do advertising? Could we sell billboards? It turns out we can't do a lot of that. But, you know, it's close call. The liability is probably the biggest issue, because that happens with every one of these things has some kind of liability.
Yeah, that's kind of my biggest thing too. And I mean, you know, is alcohol in the mix on the.
We did have a core sponsor about a year and a half ago when I first brought this up. It was going to be Budweiser. They were 100% going to give us $500,000. When I told them the board is opposed to having alcohol, because that was the board's objective, 3 of the committee members at that time pulled out, and those are the Budweiser committee members. Then the board ended up coming back saying, no, we're for it. We just need to change it and change the scope of some of the stuff. Once I heard that, they have denied to come back. They picked up another event to sponsor. But our committee has discussed it because it is something that does bring a lot of people. But for us, it will ump our cost in security, because we would have to have local sheriff, but also event security. And our organization has our own security department. So that's just something where we can budget to see what our real generated cost would be at the end of the day. So that's why we wanted to pitch it to the board, to get the board's opinion, because even our legal team did tell us, like Steven said, is at every entrance of this event, that's why we're making a one-way in, one-way out type thing. We have to have signs at a certain scale that say, once you're entering this event, you know, you're at your own risk. If you fall, trip, or anything, if you oppose this, please exit now, and stuff like that. And then some of the other things that we have to have in there is restrooms. You know, we only have one, but for every certain amount of people, you have to have other restrooms. So we have to have porta potties distributed out this whole event, and then power. So we have to have power easements to power the machines,
Light towers.
and stuff like that. And then for a lot of the vendors that will be staying there for the 4 days, we have to store them, making sure that they're okay in a secured location. So our team has been aerially looking at the clubhouse, has drove there, walked it, take thousands of pictures. The committee is prepared for this event. It's more of the of once the board gives us the green light, it's not, we're gonna hope to give you guys a hardcore, this is how much it's gonna cost to operate this event. And then once we get it, the approval, we'll be pushing it for a whole year, coming next year. But we just want the board to look at it as now we've built the committee, we have the people in line, we're building the basis. We want to grow the data for you guys to see it, so that when we do push the subjective and people do come here saying, hey, is this a legitimate event? And we have a lot of local people who start to send in checks and money, they can have that reassurance that, yes, CCWCD is hosting this. This is going to be their annual event, and it's our first time doing this. So you'll start to see some of that stuff go up as well. Just like I said, we wanted to post signs at every entrance. That was something that our legal team did say, that if someone hits the sign, who's going to be liable for it? We had to reach out to the county to get approval. If we were to put these signs up, what would be the pushback? How long can the sign be up there? So, there's different things. If we go into just marketing and spend $500 a month at pushing out the same video and ads. So this is something that I think will bring in a lot of revenue for the district, for us to have this annually and every year, but we have to start somewhere. So I think if we do all the paperwork and the data now, and we approve it, next year it's full go, it's all greenlit, everyone knows what the cost would be, and everyone will be on board. So when the money starts coming in and we start having our workshops on this, you guys can see, hey, we've spent $5,000 within 4 months on marketing, and we've gained back $25,000 in sponsorship within that time. So that's just one of the things that we're looking at doing, but we have to start somewhere. Before it was just me trying to get people on it. Now it's I have the people. Now it's just putting it and pushing it, so that we can get it off the ground.
So I think you said you wanted to.
Yeah, I don't want us to vote. I just wanted everyone's feedback and opinion so that I can put on here.
So my recommendation for the next time, you bring it up, I don't know if your committee wants to come in and present it themselves, but what I would like to see is a little bit more concrete, like even the dollar amounts of what exactly you guys are, or what this committee's talking about putting in there. I think if we're gonna do something with it, we should see, actual amounts, not just ranges. I don't know if you guys can check with South Bay and see if South Bay has any, does South Bay get insurance, like just for the event? Because I think we need to, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? Maybe 10 years ago they had an incident and now they get insurance every time.
Right, no, because the organization is going to be pushing this with the committee, our legal team has urged us that the committee and the organization will have to have, the festival will have to have insurance, but on top of that, CCWCD, we have to cover CCWCD because we're using their facility, and we're being basically a limb of them. So if anything happens to them, it happens to us. Yeah. So yes, there will be insurance for this event. We do have some data, but like I said, some of the venues and some of the people that we're taking this data from, our event's going to have more vendors than theirs. Theirs had more fair rides, and we're adding a parade, which is additional income, and it's only $450 for the detail, and we'll bring in about $5,000 just for lining up cars and golf carts and just having them drive down the road. Yeah. And then the pageant as well. The pageant, there's no up cost to us but a crown, a slash, and renting a stage. So
but you have all the other stuff, like
right.
The rides. What would Henry County Sheriff's charge if we
they have a flat rate that they charge, and we have.
We would also get private security. So what would that cost? So
right.
all those.
Yeah, I can get the team together and have them have that prepared for next month for a hardcore vote on that.
Do South Bay? you mentioned one entrance and one exit. Do you know if they searched your bag, for,
So South Bay does not. South Bay,
especially with
yeah.
all the incidents happening, you know,
yeah.
in this
So
world?
some events they just let free range. There's no fencing. The city of Doraus Fair, there's one way in, one way out. I believe in our community because we believe in your amendment to have an arm. You can't bring it to this event because if we do agree, once I bring all the information, if we do agree to allow alcohol, alcohol and firearms do not mix. So yeah, that will be something that we will restrict people from having, and that's why I'm a firm believer, one way in, one way out. And it controls the substance of the event as well. If we do have local law enforcement there as well as security, the asset, meaning the bad person, there's only one way for you to come in and one way for you to come out. And if you jump a fence, of course someone's going to see you jumping a fence. There has been a lot of cabuttal with the committee in regards to this event and, safety precaution and upkeep of, the constituents. But we've looked at multiple events that have been held in our county and other counties, what works, what doesn't work, and we're trying to find that sweet spot. That's why I didn't come with hardcore numbers yet, because some events it's free to enter because you're buying stuff at the booths, but the fair rides are $45 to $50. So those are the two takeaways, and that's why I just wanted to pitch it to you guys first, get your guys' feedback, because I think the faster we kick this off and start getting people together, it could be successful.
Thank you.
Alrighty, discussion and vote on 4 days, 10-hour work week.
The workers have spoke to me and the district office. I've asked for numerous feedback from community members. I did speak with the district manager on this. I did oppose it at one time, but my firm belief is as long as our office is open every day of the week, I have no problem. A lot of the workers and other government agencies are open 4 days for 10 hours, like the city of Bellblade, South Bay as well, but the office here, I will remain, want it to be open. I did let Becky know that if this is to be agreed upon and approved, this does not affect the clubhouse. The clubhouse still needs to operate almost every day. For our constituents, I think this is more for our field workers that are out there working. So I think this is something that we should try it. We can always vote it out if we feel at some time it doesn't work. But I think it'll give them, some time to rest and relax, and giving them that operable business day, which will be Friday, to go get some of the stuff they need to get done compared to when they're working all day. So that's why I proposed us to go to 4 10s, but within substitute, the office will still remain at office hours, open Monday through Friday.
Let's say that I work the clubhouse, 5 days, and now I see my peers are working 10-4, and I want to then switch, job duty. What's going to happen with that?
So that was a question that I did get from one of the clubhouse workers. I told them you will have to take that up with the district manager to speak on that, to see if she can work your schedule. But the clubhouse is our first line of communication and relationship to the constituents. So it's a beast of its own. It has nothing to do with day-to-day operations of roads, swells, water control. So it doesn't operate in the form that the district office here works with them physical labor. It's more of maintenance, upkeep, and customer service. So like I told all the workers there, you guys operate totally differently than the district, and that's my biggest peeve is when the office is closed, they want to close the clubhouse. I don't believe in that. I believe the clubhouse needs to operate on its own schedule, its own time, because if I'm a garbage man and you're a police officer, you have to be on the clock more than I do. I'm only picking up trash once a week. So why do I get mad that you're working your schedule and I'm working mine, or vice versa? So that's how I explained it to them. You know, if I'm out here in the blazing sun all day and you're inside of the AC, you shouldn't be working 4 10s. You know, I think you should be working, coming in later and leaving later, but that's up to the district manager. I'm talking for the men and women that are out here in the trenches every day, you know, to give their bodies some extra day to rest, but as well as if they need to get stuff done during the week, they have a business day to do it and they don't have to call off. And that's why I'm proposing the 4 10.
Also, we need to, they don't have a bid right now, you know, they're for their time, correct? Or because they work 5 days. So the district manager needs to put a bid together to be bid every 3 months in order for, if I'm working Monday to Friday, Monday to Thursday, so, and the other day you working off on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, somehow, you know, I wanted that, you know, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, so that's also need to be worked out, you know, every X amount of, you know, usually 3 months, so depending on the situation, but that we know the task that the district manager need to put together, on based on seniority also. Okay?
So my thing is, so you have, so first, it's not fair to all the employees, right? Because just because Kenya works in an office, doesn't mean it's her fault that she works in an office, right? And just because she's not out there in the sun, doesn't mean her body doesn't, you know, because honestly, sometimes the office job is actually a lot more, you know, mental. Yeah, the outside is more physical, but the office is more mental. So I don't think that's fair for the other employees that still have to be here. You also have holidays. You know, you can have a holiday that falls on a Monday, or you can have a holiday that falls on a Friday. So you're talking about your frontline workers could potentially be off 3 days in a week, right? And then the third one, in my opinion, well, it's not my opinion, I've read a lot about this, but there's a lot of research out there that there's not a huge, you know, like, you know, your I guess your difference in production, your efficiency, you're losing a day, but it's you know, because there's a difference in there when you know, when you actually clock out or when you mentally clock out, right? And there's a lot of stuff behind that as well. There's a lot of, you know, you can look it up. There's a lot of research and all that. But the biggest one is we're getting into our busy time right now, right? So we have a lot of water moving right now, and it's just going to get busier and busier and busier. We got a lot of water moving, and what that's also going to create for the county is, or for the district, is not really a day off for the workers. It's just going to create more overtime for us. So now, you know, let's say you got to bring everyone in on a Friday because we have a lot of water moving. It's, you know, you got a culvert collapse, you got to run the pumps, you got this, you got that, whatever it is, right? There's going to be a lot more of that. A resident complain his road is washing out, whatever it is, right? And it's a Thursday, all right, well, let's bring in 2 guys, 3 guys to go fix that road. That's the other concern, because I think I can see that, you know, especially in the next 4 or 5 months, right? This is going to be more and more, you know, added to our costs because of that. So, with that being said, can I get a motion for 4 days, 10-hour work weeks for the field staff?
Aye.
Can I get a second? No second. Discussion and vote on python removal from reservoir. You don't know much about that, Ken? Okay, we can cross it out.
Let's go fishing for a bus.
Yeah. Python and iguana removal. Yeah. All right. So Steve, we're skipping H because Becky bounced. And then the other two, I just added I and J. I'm assuming that's fine. The other two that we did.
We're gonna leave H, but say we didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then add the IJ.
I and J, yeah. So I was the career source, J was Sandmine District Attorney.
Very good.
Staff reports, District Manager, do you have anything that you wanna?
Yeah, I can go ahead and go over it.
Just whatever you're comfortable with, I mean.
Yeah, I'll go down what she has here.
Yeah.
So we did do some patches on some lime rock roads. We kept mowing, we've been using the boom mower. We've been doing the side of the roads that some of them have, because of the cars going, we've been fixing those. Picking up debris from the trees we've been cutting. We've been cleaning up the canal towards the back of the reservoir. The permits, the driveway permits, we have for this month 7 pre-existing, 19 new, and we have 18 final that their home is being done so they can move in. We have the Easter event. We had movie night. And we've just been cleaning up. I don't know if you can see, we've been cleaning up right here, our yard. So it's looking better. And that's what we have.
Alright. Any questions for the District Manager?
I seen, that we did some improvements, to some of the swells. I talked about this a couple months ago. Are we up to date with the GIS system where we can start incorporating onto the app or not yet?
I know she's been talking to
Anthony?
Yeah, but I myself don't know how much she's.
Okay, can you follow up, with her on that? Because I know that the board had approved for that to be incorporated as well as the engineer at that time, to get with her about, road development, what roads we've done, and adding that to the GIS, just like property appraisal, when you go onto their website, you can pin, we wanted to do that for the district. So I know that the board had approved for her to do that. That was the whole point of the new website as well as the app. Can I just get an update on where we're at with that? I know it takes some time. Anthony did let me know that. But I still want to let some of the constituents know as I've been pushing out the app download. And then that's my follow-up question. Are we utilizing the app more often than paper? Meaning, are we letting people know that come here to the office or the clubhouse, hey, to download the app to stay up to date, or we're just posting? Okay. Is it in our daily vocabulary? Is my question.
I know I do talk to people about it.
Okay.
We also do have the QR code right at the door. So as soon as you come up, you'll see the QR code there. We do tell them, hey, meetings are there, agendas are there, any events are there. So I do let them know, and we do have the same QR code over at the clubhouse.
Okay. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Any questions for? No. All right, District Engineer's report.
All right. On the permit review, we reviewed and approved 7 electric permits and 1 fiber permit during the time period. As for containment, we prepared a monthly fuel tank inspection log form for all the district tanks according to item 8 of the spill containment and response plan. Put together a draft form and spoke together with Becky so we can walk and just make sure that it makes sense with what's out there to get together with her on that. Water Management District coordination, continue to work on the C-139 stormwater permit renewal. We're about to submit the RAI package this week, so hopefully within the next week or so we'll have that approved. Before drainage improvements, from Hacienda to County Road 833 and from Center Avenida del Club. Okay. So we prepared, we didn't transmit yet, we wanted, the district manager to review the letter before we sent it out to Henry County, but we prepared a request to Henry County to initiate swale improvements along County Road 833. And then, we also began preparation of plans to install and/or replace culverts within the defined project limits. CCWCD direction is needed regarding the desired level of design detail for the Crow culvert improvement plan. Next, Canal 5 improvements, we prepared and submitted swale detail drawings for the district manager to review. Pump stations 3 and 4 conducted project review and initiated preliminary design to address the erosion issues at both pump stations. Appaloosa Lake easement, coordinated with the district manager and surveyor to prepare the easement sketch and legal description. Upon district approval, new lines will prepare culvert extension plan. And lastly, new road design over at Bald Cypress in Missouri. Initiated pre-design activities for the proposed new road.
Kenny, you don't know anything about this stuff that he's waiting for Becky on, right? No? Okay.
Becky and I set time to get together and review it in person. We did a drive-through, so Becky, what do you need done, what do you guys need help on? She identified items, we walked it. And so everything I have is preliminary for her to take a look at, say, hey, we want to move forward on this or not, or if there's anything to take to the board, if we actually have to do a full-blown design. So these are things I need to talk to her first and get her blessing.
Yeah, no, I see a few items that, throughout your report that you're waiting on Becky, so I wasn't sure, but no, that's fine. My only comment is I see that you still have the spill containment on there, so I'm glad it's on there because, sometimes we talk about things and we get to the next meeting and things get forgotten and, so I like that. When we talked about that two meetings ago or something, we had the spill containment plan, but I requested for actual log sheets and everything else, so I'm glad that's actually moving forward. And then hopefully once you guys get together with Becky, you can kind of have an update on some of this other stuff that you're, any comments?
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, some of this stuff, like when they're going to start doing this work, I think that this should be on the app, stuff that will like affect the community. And like notices, hey, we're doing improvement to roads so-and-so, due to, what's the reason. It's educating our community of what we do and how we do it. I think would be really beneficial, and even engineer comments to be added into that post that the district would make as well, would really help educate our community, that we deal with roads, swells, and water control, because I know that they were doing some work on Woodland a couple years ago, and there was no notice that went out, and then everyone had to go down 833. And then they were doing improvements on one of the canals, and all you heard all day for people who were homeschooling, beep, 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 whoop. So just to send that out, hey, we're doing work like that, would be, educating and also beneficial for the community, because we do have a lot of projects that we have coming up, and I think people should know that we're getting down to the nitty-gritty and getting busy, and we don't just sit up here blah, 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 blah. So yeah.
Questions or comments from Marina? No? All right, treasurer's report.
And if you open up to the budget for actual, the sheet that looks like this. So at the end of March, we're about 50% of the way. We are 50% of the way to the budget. So I kind of went through the year-to-date percentage and highlighted things over 50% and made some notes on them for you. Tax
revenue, we've collected about 65%. We didn't have any deposits in March yet. Going down, and then the rest of the income is all, the miscellaneous is high because of the property sales and the saw palmetto berries. But then if you start to go down into expenses, we haven't spent any of the capital outlay money yet, nothing's been purchased or spent on it. Community programs, the Christmas party, that's just a timing thing. Golf tournament is also timing. Going down to the interest expense, the 900 account, that's the South State bond payment, is twice a year. So we made the first one, that's why it's at 50%, and the same for 910, the bond principal payment. And I believe there's only a couple of them left, I think. Going down to 595, that's travelers, the commercial insurance. We're at 88%, but it's not a 12-month policy plan. I think there's only 1 or 2 more payments left, it's 10 months.
Where you at, on the first page?
Yeah, 595 down near the bottom. Miscellaneous expense, I know you didn't really want anything coded to there, but there's just some stuff that don't fit anywhere. That was a $500 H.E. Hill Foundation. If you go down to auditors, they're a little higher because they're doing out-of-scope work to kind of help get, since I didn't get any starting points really from John Boy, they're matching the last year's audit to, and making journal entries so that I'll have more historical data. If you go down to 825, capital outlay and grant management, that one we're way over what we budgeted, and it's mostly Culpeper. We've spent $41,000 with them for whatever they're doing.
The design.
410, the property appraiser assessing fees, it's a once a year thing, so that's just timing. So we have about all of it expensed out. The roads, 512.1, that's all Prado, and we're about 50% of the way there. Patchwork of paved roads is all Diaz, and we're at 100% of what was budgeted, and Becky said we're done with that part of the work for the year. 530, supplies is a little high this month because of baseball stuff and Easter stuff purchased. Repairs at the clubhouse pool, 590. It's a little high because there were some pool repairs. There's like a $3,000 repair done in February.
What we buy for the baseball team?
Bats, gloves, bases, a lot of stuff on Amazon they're seeing for baseball. And then I think like hot dogs and hamburgers for the game. It's mostly Amazon and like Walmart and Sam's Club for seeing stuff. Going down to 626, the reason professional development is higher this month, there was FASD meeting, and there was a hotel that needed to be purchased, and there was also a fire safety meeting, so that was just a timing thing. Uniforms are also timing. There was none bought in March, but throughout the year, so far we're at $8,800 out of the $10,000, and I think we should kind of be done with uniforms. And then going to the last page, the only other thing really over 50% is sanitation. And this month, we spent $11,000 on it. 9,600 of that was for 2 3-cubic yard Wranglers. And totes for hazard materials. I see the invoices and I write in the descriptions, but I'm not always positive of like what the stuff is.
What is Wrangler?
I was just gonna ask that.
3 cubic yard Wranglers is what the bill says.
It might be the tires, because I know we're paying the
A cubic yard is usually like, you said 3 cubic yards?
two of them, it said 3 cubic yard wranglers and non-hazard totes.
Oh, old oil. That was from 62, correct. Yes, that was old oil from years that we had here, City of Hill.
But what are the Wranglers?
I mean, I'm sure that what it is. But it might be that
I
one.
feel like it was a recent build, like, I think it was Waste Connection.
Waste Connection, I know with Waste Connections, we're doing a lot of tire pickup. A lot of containers.
Overall total expenses, are at 33% of the budget, so we're under the 50% of spending projected.
Were you able to get a projected,
No, I have
number?
that written as notes. QuickBooks needs more background history,
If it was a
because there's
reserve
no
amount?
prior year, like, for them to compare to. There's basically the starting entries from
Yeah, 'cause I know-
July.
I know one of the things we didn't budget were the tires. That's something that wasn't budgeted in there, cause my first year, yeah,
Gloves.
or that either. But for the trash thing is, can you, if you don't mind, when we do get, like for sanitation, those really big up cost, line items, that we put it aside for the board, because now we need to start taking legal action to people who are illegally dumping. Because we're not talking about like a $500 ticket now, we're talking about thousands of dollars of illegal dumping, that once someone gets caught, they need to be prosecuted for that. Because there's no way that people are just randomly dumping 1 or 2 tires. This is like truckloads of tires. So that means it has to be a store or a shop from town. And we have to hold the sheriff's office accountable for enforcing it, but we also have to have the data of how much it costs, because the state attorney's office, they won't pick up a case unless it's very expensive. And then we can put the sheriff's office to the stake and say, look, you have an expensive case, the state attorney's office wants to pick it up, we have all the data for you, now find out who's dumping it.
So any large sanitation, like the one that just.
Yeah, and even,
Bring it out and bring it in.
right, I would request even for the office to give you a description of the sanitation stuff. If it's primarily illegal dumping, I wanna keep that, because that can become really expensive, really fast. And if we don't counter-react to that, we're pouring away money that we don't need to be pouring away. Cause that was one of my biggest budget cuts. We were spending $36,000 just to have people come in the community and dump trash because they knew somebody, and someone put a double mobile home in the containers, and we paid for that. And that wasn't fair to the constituents, and that was $36,000. And when we eliminated it, it died for about a couple years, and now it's starting up again. So that means it's a new business in town or around here, that thinks we're just gonna dump in your neck of the woods. So we really need to dive that down. But we have to have the data for the state to wanna pick up the case.
So yeah, and all the big items that kind of, or anything that catches your attention,
Right.
right? Going back to that baseball thing, I'm not opposed to doing things for the kids, but my thing is that, just thinking about bats, gloves, and all this other stuff, that's probably $3,000 right there, right? And all that stuff. So what are we gonna do whenever every kid in this community wants to play baseball, and they wanna, and now we got, instead of 1 team, now we got 5 teams, right? So, just those are the
See, that's
things.
where like me being new is kind of a disadvantage, because I don't know that you guys haven't approved baseball the same way you've approved.
Well, I think we approved it.
No, we approved it, we approved the team, and I think the cost of the team, I know that we were notified that there would have been a cost to it, but for the amount of this, I hope it's not a repetitive fee that we're paying for. You buying gloves and bats, I think that's a one-time thing, but the hot dogs and hamburgers, I wasn't aware of that.
There also might be the Easter event, like I don't get like a breakdown of what it's for.
I think you should request that from the office, a breakdown of that. because that would help explain it to some of us board members what exactly these events are for and what exactly it is. Because perhaps since she's not here, you are finance, I want you to be able to explain, that communication needs to be given to you. Because in your report, if she's not here, you have to be willing to explain it. No fault to you though, but you know, this has nothing to do with you.
I'm
It's
just
just,
kind of coded to, if I've seen like 2 receipts of
Right.
baseball stuff, I assume the food goes with
right,
that. And then when there were like Easter receipts, I
Right.
coded that food as an Easter expense.
right, because for me, it's a little alarming, we approve something once, that should be the one-time cost. Now, if you're telling me every other month, there's a reoccurring cost to that, that's not what we initially agreed to or put in our budget. So that's really alarming to me, because if we don't stop it now, it could reoccur, and now we have a $30,000 expense at the end of the year that wasn't budgeted, and I just don't like stuff like that.
I could for next month break out, exactly how much stuff I coded.
Like a lot, yes, I would
If I
appreciate
can
that.
start, I believe the only thing that we give to the baseball team is Gatorade. I don't believe we are giving them any food.
But we buy
Because
them
in order
back
to give them food, we have to bring out the grill, and we're not doing that. So I believe all we provide is Gatorade.
so they don't even bring their own water.
We maybe provide water, but that's, you know, something we normally always have on hand.
I'm not opposed to helping them with stuff like that, but I just think, like, my son is in that league as well. So next year I'm gonna be like, you know what, let's start another team for my son's age group so that we can get bats, gloves, water, Gatorade, son, now you don't have to worry about taking one.
Because that's my question too as well. Are we retaining this stuff when the kids leave? Like, are these our
Well,
bats?
even if you're not.
Or our gloves.
Well, so, yeah, that's one thing.
Because if we're giving this to them and they leave with it, we just spent $4,000
Did we
on
buy
stuff.
backpacks as well?
No, we got our, like, bags,
And
balls, gloves, but they belong to Central County, not.
But yeah, I mean, my thing is, you know, and I know it's not a lot, but it's just the principle of it. At what point do we mark the line, like?
No, they pay for their, fee, their tuition, whatever.
I would hope so.
We pay for that, and I believe we have like 9 or 10, maybe to 11 kids right now, but I know there's a limit on how many kids.
Yeah, it's like 11 or 12. You'll see next year. We'll get probably like 3, 4 teams that wanna
Yeah, there's already big kids asking.
play under Montour. Because I mean, every age group you need a bigger bat, a bigger glove. So you know, a bat is $200, the cheapest one. The glove is probably $100, $70, $80.
I'm glad we're in it. I just don't want spontaneous purchasing for it without at least the board's acknowledgement. And I don't think that was Becky's intention either. I think she did purchase it for the team because the board did give approval for it. But at what cost was the approval?
I just think it can get out of hand. Like, I support the team. I just think it can get out of hand if,
It's not addressed.
quote unquote, we approve the team, right?
Right.
Because if, at the end of the season, they're like, you know what, let's do a field trip for the kids. Now that's a, you know, whatever it is, it's kind of like, oh, well, you guys approved the team, right?
But we didn't approve the field trip. So there needs to be that structural breakdown on what is allowed and what is not allowed.
So I just, you know, just for your notes, Kenny, I think if we can just be clear on those things, you know what I mean, just like Mr. Santiago said, are we buying the bats and we're gonna keep the bats? Are we giving them the bats? Are we keeping the gloves? Or, you know?
And then on like the receipt you sent me for food, if you could just write that like, this is for Easter, this is for soccer, then I can put it in the, you could still keep the same coding on it, just like a little distribution. And then just like the clubhouse for food regularly, or only if there's like an event?
Only if there's an event. I know the board did approve for a part-time person to do like a little hot food booth. But the office hasn't managed to hire someone to do that yet. So there shouldn't be that cost either in payroll or for that in food.
So
But
food would mostly be for something.
yeah, mostly some type of event. And I know that we did have the Easter event, so I'm presuming that's what that was for. The only thing that threw me off was the bats and gloves and balls and stuff like that. Because I know we approved to pay the fee, but not for all of the other stuff. But I am taking the notion, the assumption that for the first time we're purchasing it and to reutilize that same stuff and not letting them keep it. Because then we'll have a different discussion moving forward about that.
Does anyone have any questions on
The, your sheets at the end on the overtime, March,
Yes.
can you kind of go through that?
I can tell you what they are, not why people are late.
So there's a lot of Fridays on, I don't know if you know, Kenya, there's a lot of Fridays on there. I don't know if you can answer that, but
There's 47.76 hours on that 27, we put 99 employees. And those,
on the overtime?
yeah, 47.76 hours on 9 employees.
So we paid an employee an hour because he worked in lunch. So he got an hour overtime. And then there was a lot of overtime from COVID replacement on a Friday, or 2 different Fridays. So does that mean they weren't working on Friday and they came in on Friday?
No, they were working, but because it was gonna head into the weekend, we had to make sure to finish that. So that wasn't there.
So they worked 16 hours that day? Or they were working more throughout the week?
I think he's looking at, like, for example, Alberto, Friday, 3/27, he has 8 hours of overtime.
Yeah.
So he works like a regular 8 hours and then there's 8 hours.
So 16 hours? 9 of them? It took to do that close.
I don't know.
No, what I'm saying is, if you look at this, there's 9 employees on the same day.
If I'm correct, I think that was throughout the week. They stayed,
I don't have that page.
they stayed over at one
That's all
time,
it
2 or 3 days.
So another like that.
I only got this one.
Oh, he got, I don't even think that's the second part. He's got like 2 lines on his.
You guys can argue this because I have no data to look at.
You want mine?
You can
I don't
actually,
really have an answer.
Mr. Rafa.
Oh, here. Let me see it.
So how many employees did you count through the COVID?
9.
9? 9
On
different
the
employees.
27 for 47.76 hours.
So we had everyone working during the COVID.
Nope, Mara doesn't have it.
So you look at mine.
Now go all the way to the back because we do have 2 months
No.
on here.
No, he does have a sheet, but it only has 2 lines.
Okay.
Does it say March up at the top?
March 26. March 26.
Because I think February's only got like 2 lines on it.
Correct, only have 2 lines, 1 employee. But this here is the one got 9 right here.
Yeah, so okay. So this will become,
27, 27.
so for the Easter event, we had all of the workers there?
Almost all of it.
8.
Most of it.
And why is a clubhouse worker working through his lunch?
That means he was working by himself.
There was no one else there to cover him.
More than likely he was by himself, no one else. Maybe there was an emergency or something, but normally when someone works through lunch, it's just they did it by themselves.
I think the lunch one, for me, there's no excuse for that. And the COVID replacement, it was a dire strait. We had to replace it on Friday, or could it have waited?
Well, it looks like it was, if you look at the first one, Alberta, if you look at Thursday, it started Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which means he should have been doing extra hours from throughout the week.
Right. Because we're on
Because
a
on the
weekly
20
schedule, right?
Because on 26, yeah.
I don't think it's just the COVID.
No.
Doing the COVID,
Yeah.
it's like Mr. Moreno said, it's 9 people doing COVID. They were marked as COVID replacement overtime.
Cause I know that the board, I was outvoted on this, the board did make a directive that if there is to be overtime, there should have been a report, especially at that magnitude sent to us. I have been looking at her weekly reports that she had sent. I know that they did discuss this, but not that there was overtime accumulated. You know, for the big event, like the Easter event, okay, that's a one-off
that's
for the whole
understandable.
year. But for the culvert replacement, if it's not a dire strait, meaning like an emergency, it has to get completed, then it could have waited off until the following, pay cycle. But especially that we're doing this at the end of a pay cycle is ridiculous, cause that clock, we already budgeted through that week for payroll, and now we're eating up into our overtime, budget. I would like to hear from Becky.
It says that on your.
It says here on the comment.
Oh, I don't have a handwritten one, I just have mine, and I'm
No,
like,
no,
I
no,
had
here.
no idea that this was
No,
for the culvert, so.
it's in the comments.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would say is a little alarming to me.
I would like to get an explanation too on
Yeah.
how 9 people are required to replace that culvert. I know what culvert it was the one that comes down
I know, 8.
on, Palm, yeah. But I don't see why we would need 8, what was it, 8 or 9?
Nine, total, 9.
And then it says that Renee worked, holiday for 2 hours.
That's, the 2 hours is the pool, whenever he has to come in on a day off to do the pool, because he does, PPO, he gets paid the 2 hours.
Has the pool been open?
The pool is
Okay. Yeah, I would really want an explanation, because I know that the board has pushed for no overtime unless approved. And if it is an emergency, then understandable. But she was to follow up with a report regarding that it was an emergency and overtime was accumulated. Yeah, we have to keep a really close niche on that, especially now that overtime is not taxed.
Well, I think
Yeah.
we know we have to replace that culvert, but
Right.
why wasn't it replaced before, like you said,
Right.
why did it have to be replaced on, you know?
On
On that
Friday.
date, yeah. Because then, of course, that gives no operable excuse, you know, we have to finish the project.
And I'll be honest with you, I know that, you know, there's 8, 9 people on there, so I would like to understand why we need 8 or 9 people, but it's not on them, it's on our, you know, management staff, why we scheduled 8 or 9 people to do that job, you know what I mean?
well, I'm correct, it wasn't just one culvert. It was more than one culvert.
on Wednesday, it wasn't on a Friday.
That's what I'm saying, there's different, it starts from before, the overtime starts accumulating on
There's a paper we have in here that has Friday, and
No, but it's
someone wrote on
It
it.
says overtime on Friday, maybe the hours on Friday.
March 27, it's on a Friday.
That day
No,
was
no,
off.
but, so remember that our regular time is 40 hours, so that means by
Yeah, because you get paid
Thursday,
weekly.
the 40
Yeah.
were already hit.
The reports are,
So the accumulation.
Right, 'cause
starts
you
Yeah,
will
that's what I'm saying,
right.
yeah.
like, the way you can balance how we do with our construction jobs, if we know a job is gonna take about 37 hours, but our workers get 40 hours, we're not gonna schedule them to start that job midweek, because that means by the end of the week, you wanna close out that job, they're gonna work their full hours and say, oh, we're only 2 hours or 3 hours shy, let's complete the project, but now you went over. So you wanna budget in the beginning, you wanna schedule them in the beginning of the week to complete the job. Regardless of whatever time, it's just that we're on a weekly schedule, so if we know that they're about to hit their 40 hours, we shouldn't be scheduling an over scope of work within that time frame, because we don't want them to go over their 40 hours. Unless it's an emergency and it's understandable, but overtime does eat at your payroll budget. And you can eat at it really quickly with projects that are emergencies, but they're really not. And then when we need it for an emergency, we're way over because we're pulling every tool in our back pocket. And I know that this discussion was brought up when she was appointed as district manager about the overtime. And now it's slowly increasing over time, and we have to be very cautious of that, because I don't want to have a meeting where our treasurer says, hey, you know, overtime has exceeded, because you can work a couple hours on overtime and you made three as much as your original check on one check, just with overtime. now that it's not taxed. So we want to be cautious of that avenue as well. And if we were to go to 410s, if the board was to approve it, then what would have been the excuse at that notion of overtime if this was to be 410s? Was the project done on a Wednesday, Thursday, now we're following into a day they're off, that's domain for overtime. So we want to be very cautious of that. That's all I'm saying is, I know she has an explanation for it, because I haven't seen it like that in a while, but just moving forward, we want to illustrate that to the rest of the board, because it is a very touchy subject, especially with our budget, that we move into a different degree. So I'm 100% for getting clarity on that, and then, let's make sure it doesn't happen again.
District Attorney.
It's all on the agenda. You know, it's what I have on my report, there's items that made their way onto the agenda. So I don't see any exceptions to that. Okay, RFP for engineering, like a while back, we got into a discussion about creating an RFP for engineering services. So that's something that I think we see in work, whereas the rest of these so-called completed, have the approval from today's board already. So, really nothing other than the assignments to which I have noted.
Alright, supervisor's report.
I'm good.
You say you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You got
So,
one?
yes, on my supervisor's report, Kenya, if you can please meet me down there. I'd like to publicly tell you something.
You need trouble.
I want to make sure we are seen. So on behalf
To be in
of,
front of the house.
on behalf of C2 and the rest of CCWCD, since you've been here, I received a lot of good phone calls and good feedback from the community, meaning that you're giving us great customer service, but within that you're also educating the community of what we do. So I would like to present you this award for all of your hard work and dedication to our community here at CCWCD for your the years of service up to 2025. Okay?
So I don't have any bigger, can you?
Since 24? I just hit 2 years ago.
Kind of flies, huh?
Give the rest of the board in. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Anything else?
Yeah. But with that being said, there was an incident where a mother and her child, she had just moved here from LaBelle, and she didn't know about Central County, and she heard all of this bad stuff about Central County, and it was Kenya's first, I think, week or month that Kenya was here. Kenya gave us a very good presentation. I don't know if she meant to, but she did. She spoke very highly about CCWCD and what we do and where we came from and where we want to go. And I feel like that is a pinnacle of a leader in our community as well as a worker here. And you should be valued and appreciated for that because you guys do get a lot of bad hits and a lot of bad publicity and bad stuff. But for you to still put on a smile and give people the great customer service that I hope we all get, that goes a long way. And thank you on my behalf for that, and as well as CCWCD. And then the other one she had to step out is for District Manager Rebecca for her hard work and dedication here with the district and everything that she had to go through with the transition and helping us, keeping us on track. So I just want to make sure you can give this to her. And that's it, Chair.
Alright. I don't have anything else, Kenny, so I think we're good. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you very much.